Okay. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. How's everyone's Memorial Day weekend? I hope it's good. We got a lot going on today, gang. We got an excellent group for you. We have one more coming. Carissa should be here hopefully soon. And then we'll just slaughter in when she gets here. But today we're going to be talking, right? First of all, I hope my audio is okay. If it's not, please let me know. But we're going to be talking today about dating, modern relationships, gender roles, and hookup culture. What are we doing right as a society? What are we doing wrong? What could we do better? Let's find out. Nice to see all of you. Parallax, ride with me. Nire Socks, Jenny, Testy Johnson, Sad Kit Kat. Did I miss anyone? I don't think I did. Hello, welcome in. Sit back and let's get this going. So, we're gonna start, right, with Lactoid. What's wrong with today's dating pool?
I mean, a couple things, a bunch of things. But yeah, hookup culture is bad, leads to demonstrably bad effects. It's linked with poor mental health and also contributes to infidelity, just flat out. And I mean, yeah, that's I think the biggest challenge that we have to overcome right now.
And we'll get into it as we go. And gang, most of my guests are last minute replacements, so please bear with us today. We had a lot of cancellations, but we'll get it done. Katee, what are your thoughts here?
I think it's really weird the way that Twitch will fixate on hookup culture and is like not really engaging with the fact that most people don't end up in long-term relationships through those things as much anymore. Like, hookup culture is for hookups. And if you're looking for something different, you probably would look for other avenues, although a lot of people do match up on Tinder and stuff. But even on Tinder or any like apps, you do signal to people if you're looking to hook up or if you're looking for something more long-term, and the interactions that you have following that are very different. So I get that a lot of conservatives in this place are really like super hyped about talking about hookup culture, but there's more to talk about to modern dating than just hookup culture.
And we'll get into it as we go. There are more things, and I'm curious what you think is the most important focus. We'll see as we go. Last but certainly not least for now, Zeeku, please.
I think the ultimate problem that we have is people don't really date to form families. They date to feel good about themselves. It's a lot about pleasure. It's a lot about what makes me feel good, what makes me look good. A lot of people are real stuck on the surface. They're really stuck on just like how people look and how people act on the outside. But no one really kind of understands that ultimately a relationship is selfless. It's not selfish, right? Like, if I'm coming in to meet a young lady, the purpose is for me to help her life be better, right? And in turn, she wants my life to be better. So it's two people trying to help each other rather than one person trying to use another person. And I think that it's just ultimately lost. You know, we treat people like objects instead of like human beings.
And with that, let's get into it.
Can I respond?
No, you may. I was going to ask you a question, but go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because, like, you're starting out with the assumption that people are going out that they should be dating for the sake of starting families. And that's not necessarily a priority that everyone has. I mean, it's also fine that someone has the priority of like not looking for that and then eventually deciding to change their modus operandi or something like that. But I personally don't think, I think that we've treated people like objects even before hookup culture. Like, you only need to look at the 50s or 40s or 30s to know that women were looked at as objects in a way. So
Well, here's my problem, right? Like, we still we look at young men as objects too, and a lot of people don't stop and really consider that. What makes a man like attractive to women? Oftentimes it's his utility. He's not the end unto himself. It's what can he give her. right? How much money does he have? How attractive he is? What type of like sparks or feelings he makes her feel? It's not him. Like he's not the person that needs to be cared for and taken care of. It's all the things he can give. So the reality is, again, we're treating each other like objects. But to go back to the first thing you said, again, I think the problem is the fact that like we're not trying to form families, right? Like we're not trying to date each other because we care. We try to date each other because it's fun, so to speak. And
You
the
can
things
care
that you
without
pick,
wanting to form a family.
but
That's what I'm
you,
saying.
the problem is people don't. Even if you say they can, they're not. So let's address why aren't they then?
I think you can form families without caring. I think if you
No,
ever
and that's the
ask
problem
people,
unto
what?
itself. I think that's a huge. You're right. You can form families without caring. You can literally just be, as we are saying in the hookup culture, hook up with a bunch of women, maybe even hook up with one woman. Have a bastard child, and then not want to raise them, and then just leave. That's a problem.
I don't. So my point is that I understand that. Like, don't get me wrong. I have my critiques of hookup culture, but I don't feel like people who didn't want to focus on like creating meaningful bonds, whether they're doing hookups or whether they're looking for a family, they're still looking to extract something. So I don't think this is something that hookup culture created. I think that it's like much bigger than. I think hookup culture is just a symptom of the society that we currently live in.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
my
I wanted to ask a question to you, Katee, to kind of maybe on the same kind of train of thought, so it won't derail us too much. You mentioned like that people don't need to prioritize families and things like that. And I'm curious, not just to you, but to the panel as well. Do we think that the kind of nuclear family, traditional family, is that a good thing? Should we as a society promote that, or should we move away, evolve from it, and kind of just allow people to kind of form other types of relationships? What's our thoughts here?
Or the third option is we promote people making their own decisions in terms of what is important to them. And then if your value is a nuclear family, you can chase that. And if your value is living in a multi-generational household, you can do that. And if your value is to die a virgin or to die swimming in pussy, you can do that. And everyone can make their own life choices.
Well, everyone's going to do that regardless. That kind of goes without saying. The question is, like, do we set up?
No, I mean push that societally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the long and short of it is, people are going to make their own choices no matter what they do. But the ultimate question is, like, should we guide them in one direction, give them the tools, or do we?
Yes, and my point is no.
It all out? So you don't think so? I disagree. I think that
Well, I want to hear what Lactoid says things real quick. I want to get him in a little
Sure.
bit. Right.
Yeah. So I guess the question really is, and all of this data is widely available, why wouldn't we want to discourage behavior that leads to bad outcomes, and why wouldn't we want to encourage behavior that leads to good outcomes? The data is in
freedom of choice.
Well, I understand, and we can believe in freedom of choice, but in the same way that I might defend your right to go, buy cigarettes and smoke, I might also say, hey, smoking cigarettes is linked to XYZ bad outcome. You're probably better off if you don't do it. The same thing is true with sexual promiscuity and hookup culture, right? We know like a number of data points that are just irrefutable. Two-parent households are better than single-parent households.
We know correlations. We don't know causations, with all due respect.
Okay. I suppose this is the weakness of all data, all right? But we have strong...
No.
We have studies...
causal relations to cigarettes, and we don't have causal relations to hookup culture and promiscuity. So there's quite a big difference.
Well, I haven't even said what the correlations are yet.
So it doesn't matter. They're not causal, so it's not cigarettes.
Well, what is
all right, I'll let people come to their own conclusions then. But there has been a lot of studies that indicates a causal relationship between number of sexual partners and prevalence of HIV and other STDs. Obviously, there have been a number of studies that correlate mental illness, specifically anxiety and depressive disorders, with number of sexual partners, lifetime substance abuse. There's been a number of studies that the more sexual partners you have, the more likely it is you're going to develop a substance abuse disorder. Literally in terms of economic opportunity loss, in terms of like almost on every single metric, like being promiscuous is bad for you. It doesn't lead to good outcomes in your life.
quick question. The thing where if you're sexually promiscuous, you are more likely to have mental illness. Is that like a causal link or a correlative link? Because if it's correlative, you can't say what causes the other. That's my point. So more likely is not accurate.
So it could be, yeah. So it could be that it's simply correlative and that there's no indication of repeated emotional attachments not having any negative mental health impact, that all these mental health issues were present beforehand. But by the way, even if that is the case, that at the very least, I think provides a indicator for people to care about, right? Because if I want to avoid somebody who is, potentially an issue, number of sex partners, that could be at least somewhat of a barometer of, oh fuck, this person's like kind of somebody I don't want to entangle myself with.
Yeah, same as like poverty or being a survivor of sexual abuse in childhood or a lot of things, And if you want to be that kind of person that's how you filter people out, then go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm curious though. So while it's true that I can only show correlative when it comes to all the mental health issues and the substance abuse issues and all the plenty of other ailments that come with having a number of sexual partners, including, by the way, infidelity. Infidelity is also directly linked. The more sexual partners you have over your lifetime, the more likely you are to cheat on your spouse, and the less likely you are to be happy in your marriage.
That's not causal, again. That's
yeah, you're right. Again, my question for you, though, is STDs. There is a causal link there. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, probably. That makes sense, right?
Why would we want to encourage behavior that leads to more STDs? Or at the very least, shouldn't we discourage behavior that leads to more STDs?
Well, there are a lot of behaviors that lead to STDs, right? So
that doesn't answer the question.
Are there?
We should discourage all of them.
I need more than one. I need more than like one half a sentence to answer, though.
Please,
is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
You have space.
So I think that I care about freedom, and there are ways that we can reduce STDs without being super weird and judgy about the societal pressures that we put on people. The same way that there are like clean needle programs for drug addicts, and that could be an interesting comparison to make if you want to go there. But yeah, I think there are ways like education and free access to preventative, like safe sex that do obviously lead to a reduction in STDs. So the solution cannot simply be, well, that leads to more STDs, so let's discourage this socially. But
we could do both.
In that too. Yeah, exactly. Why can't we encourage monogamy?
Exactly.
Because I don't believe in encouraging like monogamy socially, right? So that's why not.
So what do you want to encourage, if I may ask? If we can't encourage monogamy, what do you want to encourage?
As I said, I want to encourage people making their own decisions.
So you don't really have any like standard or anything. You say just go do whatever you want.
Yeah, if you want to be monogamous, most people are going to be monogamous anyway. I just don't see why we have to socially stigmatize other people who want to have other types of lives.
I want to ask that just real quick. I'm curious. You made it. Most people are going to be monogamous anyway. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know. Even people, there are serial monogamists out there, right? People who are monogamous with one person, then they're monogamous with another person, then they're monogamous with another person. Is that monogamy? I don't know. But,
yes, it's monogamy.
No.
So when you guys mean monogamy, you don't actually mean monogamy. You mean like entering into a long-term relationship from a potentially young age until like the end of your life. That's what you mean.
I mean,
that should be the goal.
The hope. Yeah, that would be the hope.
Okay.
Obviously, unforeseen things happen. The person might break up with you, you break up with them. But the hope is that it's a long-term relationship.
I wanted to ask a question that was dodged before. Katee, explain to me why we could not encourage safe sex. If the goal is to reduce incidences of STDs, why not encourage safe sex and also encourage monogamy?
Oh, as I said, I didn't dodge it at all. I'm fine with encouraging safe sex because that's not shaming people for making other life choices, and encouraging monogamy is saying that one option is better than the other, but it's a moral claim.
That's what we're doing when it comes to encouraging safe sex. We're saying fucking without a condom is worse than fucking with a condom.
To be
Yes.
fair, right?
We're
And you
stigmatizing
realize-
raw
and-
sex, right?
And Lactoid, I get that for you, it's the same thing. That's why you compared it to cigarettes earlier.
Smoking, yeah.
But with all due respect, you believing in monogamy is not the same as us understanding that STDs hurts your health. So the comparison you're making there, I understand that for you it's like exactly the same, but it's not for people who don't glorify monogamy or don't subscribe to it.
Okay. So
The
here's my
CDC
question.
recommends monogamy.
Well, hold on. Why isn't monogamy
Okay.
superior to the alternative paths?
Why isn't it
'Cause
superior
I
to
could
the
probably tell
alternative
you.
paths?
Yeah, I could tell you why it's superior, but I want to know why you don't
And
think
don't
it's
worry,
superior.
Katie, I got a teammate for you pumping in soon here. So.
Yeah, I want.
Don't
I want
worry,
to,
I'm
I
not
don't want to. I don't want to
scared.
double dip.
I
I do
understand.
want
No, I'm
that.
just to balance the discussion. a
Please
little bit.
double team monogamy is not my style anyway, okay? You can
I
double
know,
team.
I got.
I'm
I
not
got the
touching that.
sense.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So
No,
why
I'm
isn't
just
monogamy
letting you know we're
superior?
going to have a replacement guest. Today's been a day. Just real quick, if I may, like as a tangential aside, so many people have ditched on me today. I don't know what it is, right? But today's the day where everyone decides to last minute ditch me. But thankfully, I have wonderful, wonderful people willing to fill in last minute, and I thank you for it. And we're going to be joined by yet another one of those very soon. So thank you.
Wick, they're not loyal, just like most people dating in today's dating culture,
Case in
and
point,
that's
no
part of the
honor.
problem.
That's true. That's
no
true.
honor. No honor, man.
Yeah. Back in the days when hookup culture didn't exist, it was known that people didn't cheat at all. That's exactly what happened.
But we still didn't encourage. Like,
We should discourage cheating too.
We all know
Yes.
bad things are going to happen, but that
That's
doesn't
not
mean.
the point
that
that you made, though.
But here's the thing,
Sorry.
though, like the logical response shouldn't be, well, people will do it anyway, so let it go. The point is to have some type of goal or standard to strive for, and to have some type of punishment or discouragement. Because let's be real,
That's
if
not
you
what I
have-
said,
but
though.
Hold on, here's the thing, though. Like, if you had any obligation that you asked for, even if it isn't just a relationship, just anything, right? You say, I need you to come at my house at like 11 o'clock, and the person didn't. That would frustrate you, right? You'd be annoyed. Well, think about the fact that you bind your life to someone, and they decide, well, you know, I'm going to have sex with someone else and then get impregnated, and I have to raise their child. Let's just go to that extreme. That's obviously
not
gonna,
really
like,
sure
hurt and
you're-
be painful to you. So what
I'm not sure why you think I'm encouraging adultery. Like,
Well,
I don't know how
but-
to engage with this.
But you're not really encouraging anything. What I'm saying is that there is a superiority to
No,
monogamy.
okay,
right?
so listen.
That's what I'm
I get-
explaining.
Okay, just give Katie some space, and then I want to get
I-
𝕵𝖎𝖐 in here. So, Katie,
I get
go ahead.
I get that for you, when I say I want to promote people making their own choices, that's promoting nothing. But I genuinely believe in freedom of choice, and I genuinely believe in adults being able to do what they need to do to reach whatever decisions they want to make about their life choices and lifestyles. So I don't know why we need to stigmatize certain things when
I
the
just gave you an
data
example.
when the data that you're using to say that we should stigmatize them has to do with your philosophy and morality than things objective. Objective
Okay,
as
the
in
objective of being cuckolded.
You gotta let her
is
finish.
hot.
Let her finish,
Let me touch her.
and then we can get more people in here. But I promise you'll get your chance. I guarantee
Right.
you. But let's let Katie finish her thought, and then then we'll get in.
I didn't hear what he said about the objective part.
Well, objectively, losing your relationship to cheating is something that we can point to. You don't need statistics to say that there's something wrong with an individual not upholding their end of a deal.
Okay, I don't know why you think that I support adultery. I do not. I think that we can say, hey, don't cheat on... You realize you can cheat on people in non-monogamous relationships, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if you can do that, that has nothing to do with monogamy. I support people genuinely not encouraging hurting each other in a way that is quite awful and like betraying. You know, I support this, actually. I think
so-
that's good practice.
Well, exactly. So it's interesting because it appears that you have some understanding that there are some things you can't do and some things you shouldn't do. But then you just throw it out of the air when it comes to encouraging people to do one thing or the other.
Yes,
Like, I
it's
don't
called
understand how that
morals.
works.
We have different ones.
Okay, I want to give a chance for 𝕵𝖎𝖐, who said he was going to defend the non-monogamy side of things, the more non-traditional relationships in this discussion. And so I wanted to, first of all, I hope that's accurate, because that's why I brought you on. But second of all, welcome. Thank you for being here. Little last minute.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day. It's good to be here.
Let me turn you up. Hold on. Before you, no one's gonna be able to hear you unless I turn you up. Do you have a mic that you can turn up yourself?
Is it good?
Keep going.
Check.
Don't stop.
Better? Is that?
Don't
I'm
stop.
maxed out. I'm maxed out over here.
Okay, I maxed you out on my end, so
Is that good?
it's gonna be as good as
good
it
on
gets.
my end.
It's gonna be as
Yeah,
good as
okay.
it gets. I've maxed you out.
All right.
Hopefully they can hear you. Go ahead.
So I think relationships just in general, to me, it's about building trust with a partner or partners. And that's the foundation for any relationship. Without the basic understanding of trust, it's not going to be a healthy relationship. And it sounds like a lot of the time when you refer to this monogamous situation, it seems like it's like this forced monogamy, and trust is thrown to the wayside. It's a secondary notion where you're more focused on like mechanics where you can enforce monogamy rather than just build trust in a relationship, which like that's how you build successful relationships. And you can advocate for monogamy, certainly. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But to advocate for like sole monogamy as a replacement of just healthy relationships in general is just missing the point entirely.
Oh, I second this. I think we socially should support good, healthy relationships. This is my new argument. Whatever the relationship is.
A monogamous one is one and the same with a good, healthy relationship. Like let's look at the objective reality.
Not always true for every single person.
So hold on for a second. If we look at the objective reality of human reproduction and the purpose of sex, right? And I know a lot of people want to work on the tertiary purpose of sex for the pleasure, but let's look at it mechanically and reasonably, right? A male and a female come together, right? Sperm, egg hits that, and we get one child. Sometimes two, maybe three, triplets, twins, and all that. But what you have is one father, one mother, one child, right? The purpose of having a monogamous relationship above anything else than the pleasure and the fun and all that is so that that offspring has someone that protects them, and that offspring has someone that wants to take care of them, right? The two parents work together. Now we can have gender roles and what the mother's role is, what the father is. We can talk about that. But the long and short of it is, right? It takes one father, it takes one mother, we get one child, usually, obviously, twins and all that. We get one.
Do gay people exist in your world?
Of course they exist, but
this is also this is missing. Okay, but this is missing the point.
They're irrelevant? No, they're not.
Okay,
you're
reducing. Victor, go ahead.
You're confusing like human sex and biology in this way, where like the fundamental action of how the reproduction happens is through like hormone discharge in our bodies, and that it comes down to what we feel as humans as the need for companionship, where we strive to build companionship.
That's secondary.
It's not secondary. That's primary. It's because
Jesus.
that's how we come together in tribes and relationships.
But hold on.
And sex.
Think logically. Regardless of any relationship, one male, one female creates
not doing mating dances. We're not doing mating dances in the way that like animals do. But on a much more complex social level, where we come together as a tribe, and then fundamentally from that, attraction builds off of that that need for companionship, whether it's friendship or sexual, whatever it is. We have a fundamental need for companionship, do we not? And that's how everything is built off of that.
Mm-hmm. But you can be friends with someone and not have sex with them. So what is
Absolutely.
The purpose of sex?
But fair enough.
What is the primary purpose of sex? Because watch this, you can reproduce with someone and not even like them. So independent of liking someone is irrelevant to whether or not you reproduce.
Urge is feeling horny, right? You feel horny, you want to have sex.
Why? To do what?
It's actually nothing when you're born, right? If you didn't have sex ed, you wouldn't know how a child's made. That's secondary. People had to figure out how children were even made.
We clearly did.
But we were coming together and making children before we understood the biology and the necessity of it.
The long and short of it is, here's the thing. We understand.
That's something that happens.
Okay. Both of you are trying to talk over each other. Both of you stop for a moment. Please. Right? Okay. I have a question, and I'll let Katee answer first, but I want you to answer the question, right? And you can also add in whatever you needed to say as well. Given the fact that we see a rise in loneliness, a rise in mental health issues, a rise in feelings of isolation, and the breaking down of social connections, the atomization of society in a real way. Do we think that current modern American, or Western, I should say, Western hookup culture plays any role in that? And if so, how much responsibility does hookup culture have towards that?
Okay. As I said, I do think it plays a certain role in that, but I think it plays a very minute one, since like I think hookup culture is just a symptom of those things that you just mentioned. That it's just
Okay,
the
so you
product
think that,
of that loneliness.
because these things, therefore we have hookup culture, not hookup
Yeah.
culture, therefore we have, okay.
Yeah,
I understand your argument. Go ahead.
The things that I think hookup culture most contributes to is the overall objectification and like treating of people, seeing people as more disposable, like what Zeeku said. I do agree with that. The thing that I wanted to add, however, is that I now completely, Zeeku said earlier that I don't have any prescriptions that I societally want to push. So after this interaction with these two young gentlemen, I've decided that another thing that I want to push. So the two things that I want to push is people being in good relationships, whatever those relationships are, and people having sex for other reasons except for pure reproduction. Those are the two things that I like to push forward.
So my response would be that I think that there are three purposes to sex, and the hierarchy is simple. Reproduction, right? You have intimacy, creation, and then you have pleasure, right? Because you can get intimate with someone and not really enjoy the sex at the same time. So they're still kind of separate. The bottom line is, when it comes to how people are made, right? We take one man, we take one woman, we put their naughty bits together, and we get one child, usually. That's the primary thing. When you separate, you don't have to enjoy sex to reproduce. You don't have to like the person or be close or intimate in order to do it. The long and short of it is, that's how we make people. So when we start from that first basis, what is the best way to raise that resulted creation? That resulting creation, best way to be raised is having his father in his life or in her life, treating them well, having their mother in their life, treating them well. When you're asking for like all of these, I'm going to be honest with you, just kind of ill-defined relationships going about, you're going to end up having children who may not know who their father is at all. And that causes them lots of different issues. And you can have people in these split families and this split hierarchy that is confusing them and doesn't really help them out.
Okay.
I mean, one thing that we've seen historically, like I'll wrap up with this point, but one thing we've seen historically is when you have men like Genghis Khan, when you have all these different, you know, men who are promiscuous, who have lots of children, they end up like fighting each other for property and land and all different types of ownership. You have a lot of confusion with these children in these situations. So I would say that objectively, for that reason, many more, having a monogamous relationship is better. I mean, that's just, you know, reason.
Yeah. So I think that's a great reason to bring up gay people and show how not relevant they are, because good outcomes for children have more to do with people having two-parent households rather than a father and a mother. But two things that I wanted to bring up is, first one, while I do agree with you that there's a basic function to having sex, it kind of reminds me of food. So we can say that like feeding is just a substance that our body needs. It's a very like basic requirement that our body has. But most people, when they'll talk to you about their relation with food, they're not going to reduce it into, oh, this is just substance that I require to survive. Most people have a very complex, intimate relationship with the way they enjoy food, the way they experience food. So just like reducing it to something so empty, like penis in vagina, sperm in egg, baby, feels very reductionist to me.
Well, it is a reductionist, but what I'm saying is its primary purpose, number one, we first have to contend with is what
I
is
disagree that it's the primary purpose. It could be the primary purpose.
So that's what we have to argue about then, because then I would like to know
we
what
can
is
do
the
that.
primary purpose, if not to
Well, let's ask. I'll ask the question. I'm curious what Lactoid thinks here.
But I'm not done giving and just the third point that I want to say is that I'm not talking about ill-defined relationships. So you have a very certain understanding of what a monogamous relationship is. You don't even mean serial relationships are having monogamous relationships. You're talking about hopefully a long-lasting one. So you have a lot of understanding of what the type of monogamy you want to see is, but that doesn't mean that other relationship types that you don't understand are less valid just because
does.
you.
I can tell you why,
Okay.
but they are. But
Explain
Good for
why.
you.
Explain why somebody doesn't want to have kids is less important then. I'd love to hear that.
they're not contributing to society. Like they're
How?
genetic dead end.
Ooh.
They're not contributing to society. They're not replacing anything. They're just the beginning and end. They take resources, they stick it into themselves, and then that's it. You got nothing else.
Lactoid, are you gonna back up your buddy here? What is your
I mean,
purpose? What are your
You can
thoughts
have
here?
your
Because I'm
opinion.
not sure if you guys are coming at this from the same angle. And
we
I'm
can-
curious
we-
why you think.
Yeah, we can go. We can. I still really want to harp on the prior points, but I'll move on for the time being
You
to
can harp
the
on
question.
them too. Like I'm just giving you space right now because I know.
I know. I appreciate that. I maybe a better way of phrasing what Zeus just said. What is we have as a society we have less of an interest in the sexual habits of people who are not going to reproduce, because we have an interest in the well-being of children, and if people are going to be off making children, we have a more of a vested interest in their behavior as opposed to people who are sterile, right? Or people who, or for whatever reason, are not engaging in that activity. The other thing I wanted to say is, again, if we're looking at like the stat, so Zeus is 100% correct that having a two-parent household is like one of the best things you can do for a child in terms of their overall well-being. And
At least.
Yeah, and sexual promiscuity. I mean, Katie, sexual promiscuity. Do you think that's more correlated with single-parent households or less correlated with single-parent households?
I think correlations are a very bad way of looking at anything.
Okay, I disagree. I think 95% of science is based off of correlational data.
Sorry. Let me fix this.
Well, let me finish this, and then I'll let you
misspoke.
fix it. Let me finish this, and then we can speak. So, the initial. In fact, this was the talking point of the cigarette companies. I'm going to bring it back to cigarette companies. In the 1960s and 70s, when the first research was coming out directly tying lung cancer increase with the amount of cigarettes smoked, like literally the response from the cigarette companies was, that's correlation, not causation. You can't prove that cigarettes cause lung cancer. And even though there's a very obvious intuitive connection there, when you have this very strong correlation, I think that's enough for action, or definitely enough for discouragement. But they were saying, no, that's not even enough for that. When you see single-parent households correlated for a very obvious reason with sexual promiscuity, why wouldn't you say, okay, maybe we should discourage the practice which leads to kids growing up in broken homes?
Because it's also correlated like to other things, like I don't know, poverty. So
we should discourage poverty.
We do.
Yeah, discouraging. That's not.
Yes.
We do.
I'm
we
not
do
even.
Poverty. I mean.
Finish your point, Katie.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, well, let me ask, right, to 𝕵𝖎𝖙 and Katie's side, because I'm curious, right? And I got questions for the both of you, for Lactoid, and actually, you know what? Zeeku, answer this first, right? Because this is bothering me. I understand, right, that the primary function of having a family is to raise children in your mind, right? That's your value.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to this.
Well, don't worry, I'll get you in there. I'm just for Zeeku real quick. However, right, if we can show that families, right, or that sexual relationships outside of the family structure, whereas outside of this traditional monogamy, if it were the case that it led to equal or even better outcomes for children, would you change your mind on this? Like, is it just an outcome thing for you, or is there some sort of overall moral kind of thinking where you should only be with one person? That's the moral thing to do. I'm just curious where you're coming at this from.
So I would absolutely change my mind. I think it's in fact.
Okay, so it's an outcome thing.
What I usually say, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears, and the fruit that gets bared from people being promiscuous is not a very good thing. It's oftentimes children with lots of different mental health issues, and lots of children who have a huge degree
Do you
of
think-
confusion and
yeah,
low self-esteem.
But do you think part of that is the way we stigmatize monogamous relationship?
No.
We have a word for these people. They're bastards, right? We call them
Mhm.
bastards. We have a
I
specific
think-
slur for them. So do you
Mhm.
think that maybe society is
No,
causing
not
this
at all.
problem, right?
Not at all, because even if you're a bastard, you can still have your father come back around. Your parents can get married after the fact, right? Let's say that it isn't the Christian ideal that I would love really to have, and that is we wait until we get married, right? The long and short of it is, right, if you stick with that woman and you get her pregnant, that child is in a better position having the male father there than if he just disappeared, he just went away. So even though we do have the issues with like bastards and whatnot, I think a huge reason why we like label them and have that title is because the father didn't remain there and wasn't married to the mother. That's part of the issue.
Yeah, this is the heart of my question, right?
Wait. Can I quickly? I'm confused. You said this is about outcomes, and then you talked about a Christian ideal. So, I guess
what my ideal would be, yes. But I understand that everyone else doesn't have that. But the objective reality is, even if we don't have people waiting to have sex, like even if we don't, I mean, waiting to be married to have sex, the long and short is, like, even if we just had boyfriend, girlfriend, they have a child, having the father there, or having the mother there, because sometimes they might leave too, is going to be objectively better for that child. Like,
okay.
beyond
So
any morality you want to add in, just having them there, you know, two incomes, his wisdom, her wisdom together, helping that child is just objectively better.
okay, so you would still support monogamy and like want to socially encourage that if people weren't to get married and just be together in faithful relationships.
I would say yes, but I would still mostly want them to be married ultimately. Ultimately, I would want them to trend towards being married than just like in the same house together.
When you say marriage, are you talking like? Okay, I guess I'll just ask why. Why is the piece of paper or the governmental kind of when the
Christian
government
values.
when the government
not-
like
it's not
gives that
present,
seal of
because
approval of the
the reason
relationship? Why
why,
is that
like,
important to you?
marriages do create legal protections for people, right? So inheritance is actually like a really important thing in our society in general. So this actually happened to a friend of mine because his dad wasn't married to his mom when he died. A huge chunk of his property is caught in this legal loophole and a whole bunch of legal nonsense that would have been clearly just granted to him as the firstborn if his mother and his father just would have stayed married. There's a whole bunch of different things.
If
and legal
only we
protections that
tackled
grant them.
those laws instead of
And fair
made
enough.
people get married.
Or alternatively, we can use the institution that we have, which is a marriage, encourage people to use said tool effectively and correctly. Because
Yes,
even
have
people get
individuals-
that- but hold on. But hold
have
on, because-
individuals
hold on.
conform to a system instead of having the system
here's-
work for the people.
Right, I
can
think
do
we need to
both, right?
update the system
Well,
to accommodate for
perhaps.
where relationships are at. Sorry, my mic was messed up. I don't know if it's a little bit better now, but yeah,
maybe we can come back to that. But I think the first thing we have to
because it seems
understand,
like you
right,
want to regress,
is,
kind of, to go
it-
back to these Christian values where the system was built upon, but like society seems to be moving forward. But your argument is that actually
I would say
we need to go back to where the system was founded in order to live according to that.
But here's
to-
the thing, though. Here's
to
the
that
thing.
lifestyle.
We still have property. We still have children. We still have fathers that want to be in their kids' life. We didn't move past creating people. We didn't move past having families and having property. So we don't need to go back to anything. We need to use what we have currently. So I don't think marriage is simply like a piece of paper. Like if we're just talking on the legal surface, because I
For
think there's
you.
spiritual and moral stuff too, but on a legal surface, right? Having that responsibility that a mother and father have to each other and to their children creates protections for that child. Like I said, inheritance is just one example, but you also, again, have the combined total of the income of the two people there. You have two people that are responsible to each other and to their child. So I think that
Okay,
there are many legal protections.
I'll build a bridge. I completely agree that the fact that people need those protections from marriage to not get screwed over is like a real problem, which is why I think we should abolish the institution of marriage legally so people wouldn't have to deal with those types of issues.
But how would you deal with
just
inheritance
So there you
and
go.
property?
Katie, what would you put into place?
I
with that?
agree with that, by the way.
Okay, I'm curious to both of you then. What system or what mechanisms legally would you put into place to resolve disputes for things like say Wick, right? Wick is a ladies' man. He goes out and he fathers 5 different children with 5 different women, right? I'm just putting it in and piecing out, right? My Twitch and my YouTube blows up. I suddenly am a very wealthy man, and I die suddenly. How do you resolve which of my children, or any of my children, gets my inheritance?
How is this related to the marriage thing?
It's not, yeah. Marriage doesn't do, like, so this is going to, well, first of all, wills, right? But assuming there's not a will, it's going to
I died suddenly, so I don't have a will. Like, so.
Sure, then, but then it's going to go into probate, and it's not going to, like, marriage isn't really going to be an issue there. And it's going to be focused more on, like, the direct, whether or not you're a direct descendant or not.
Okay, so it would be just split 5 ways regardless?
Legally, marriage serves 2 functions. It cuts your taxes, so it essentially is then a single person tax. And it gives the more economically disadvantaged member of the marriage tremendous leverage during the course of the relationship. Those are the only 2 purposes legally marriage serves. And with no-fault divorce, I got to agree. It just, the whole institution just seems to be like I'm not seeing a lot of use really in like the legal institution of marriage right now.
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, monogamy is good, but legally, marriage is kind of pointless.
By the way, when I said abolish marriage, I think if people want to spiritually or like religiously get married, they can go again. I'm just talking about the governmental institution of marriage and like what it does, right? Like if people hold value in the institution of marriage, like spiritually or religiously, I don't have any issue with that, So just to make that clear.
Hey, Victor, you wanted some space to address?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to go back to the understanding that somebody's value is determined by their ability to create offspring, and just that's like that. You kind of did. Well, then what did you say? Because whatever you said was just like it kind of blew my mind.
That we're less concerned with people that don't have children than people who do. I agree with Lactoid on that one. He put it so much better than I could. But we're less concerned with them because they're not contributing the way that people who do have children are.
Right.
But that
why should we care?
But that doesn't determine somebody's ability to create value within society.
Well, sure. Like I'm a CEO of Amazon now. Obviously, I have no kids. Well, sure. I mean, okay. Well,
all right. Okay. Maybe I misheard you then.
I mean,
Okay, no, now I have to push back. I am fundamentally against this dumb notion that people are only as important as the value they contribute to society. So, like, if I need to take the entire panel on that, I will. I find that argument to be disgusting. So, like, if we need to go there, we'll go there. I don't mind.
We'll go there. Why not? Why shouldn't we value people who contribute more so than people who contribute less? That makes sense to me.
Well, I guess we'll have to find what value means, because I don't think someone has less value as a human in terms of their rights and what they should get or should not get compared to their contribution. I don't think your contribution to society decides if you get enough money to live or not.
But it's outside of the basic kind of sustenance levels, which I agree with you on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some people don't. So I'm just making sure.
Sure. Why shouldn't someone who spends 12 hours producing things that benefit society make more or get more than someone who runs a Twitch panel, right? And has payments on it, right?
I absolutely agree that construction workers should get more than CEOs, like 100%. Like I am completely on board with it. I do think construction workers should get more.
Measure it, and we can have that discussion of how we measure it, because I'm probably with you a little bit on here, Katie. But the principle, the concept, right, of the more you work, the more you get.
Yes, that's reward. That's reward and incentive. That doesn't have to do with value. Now, maybe I'm being pedantic, and that's what the panel means by value in terms of what rewards you're getting societally, and that's fine. But that has nothing to do with the value you are and
so
provide.
If
I mean value.
To bring this back to the topic,
I think you mean value.
Can I quickly explain like the perfect scenario of like what I'm talking about when I say value?
I want to tie this back into the topic, but yes,
Sure.
you may quickly.
Sure. So like, let's say classic example, like I'm trolley problem where I'm driving down and the car is going out of control, and I can either run over somebody who is like a doctor who's going to go on to save 12 lives this year, or somebody who spends 12 hours a day jerking off and doesn't contribute anything. Which would, like, in terms of what have we lost more if depending on who dies? Well, I'm gonna like not hit the doctor 10 out of 10 times because they are like more valuable to society. They're more valuable to me. They're better than the other person. So, I mean, clearly we all agree one has more value than the other.
Value? No. One contributes to society in a way that most people in society would deem more important. But I wouldn't like choose which one is more.
Maybe we have to define what value means first, because it seems like we're
That's
talking
what I
about
said.
each other. Yeah, so define value.
Again, value is about what is the literal value of a person as a human being. Lactoid literally says, if a person contributes to society more than a different person, the other person's life is literally less valuable. And I think all lives are just as valuable.
And sure, but you didn't answer the question. What does value mean? Like what? Like, if I didn't know what the word meant, if I didn't know what you were saying, like, what does it mean?
So who would you, in the scenario that I gave before, who, like, when you're choosing like who you have to, because you got to run over one of them, are you hitting the doctor or are you hitting the chronic masturbator?
I don't know how you want me to answer this hypothetical, because how would I ever know? Like, what are you...
Okay.
Assume you knew.
Someone's paying me money. $5 for fun to say, is this a monogamy on trial debate? Kinda. How about we talk alternatives and how they compare to monogamy? So I want to bring this back because I think I don't want to get stuck on this definition kind of thing. Value is someone's humanity.
Because I won. That's one.
That works with the definition. I mean, we could start there.
Hopefully she comes back, because I wanted to ask her too.
I think she had a network issue.
Yeah,
she froze out at the end.
Okay,
Sure.
ВhickTV, since you're here, I'll ask her when she gets here. Oh, there she is. Thank goodness. I was like, I was like, oh no, she left us.
Did you see that dodge?
Yeah, I zoom just juked out of there. Let me ask. Good, you're back. Just in case. Just in time. So bringing this back, right?
Yes.
Let's not.
We should do a panel on this, Wick.
We will. But regardless of value, right? And doing it on to what contributes more and who contributes more. Should we not reward and incentivize monogamies and monogamists more because, again, the argument is they contribute more and they add more to society.
Yeah,
so
that's a really disgusting argument.
More. Why is that a disgusting argument, out of curiosity? Because you just said you'd do this for other things, right? You'd reward someone who added more to society in other venues. Why? What makes sex and relationships different? Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that being baby machines means that you're contributing more to society.
By making the people who contribute to society quite literal? That's...
Okay, I have an idea. Can we do a thought experiment? Let's have two people give birth to babies, okay? And then one baby ends up being this really bad serial murderer, and one baby ends up being a doctor. And then we execute the serial baby and his parents because they didn't contribute good value to society, and we keep the doctor and the good parents. Can we do that?
There are certain people, hold on, this is true. There are certain people we should be encouraging to have kids, and there's probably certain people that we should be discouraging from having kids. 100%.
Yes,
I would say absolutely.
Eugenics.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Hold on, but stop.
This is what Planned Parenthood does on a daily basis, and it is good for society.
Let's be real. You say let's discuss eugenics, right? But like, when you want to have sex with someone, do you take all comers, or do you like pick and choose who you find more attractive?
Do you think that's eugenics? Oh no!
Come on, what are you doing? There are people that you would rather have sex with than people you don't, right? Even if it's just like classism, he makes more money, whether it's he's taller, like you make the choice and say, I don't want to be with that guy. He's overweight, right? He's too short. You make that choice, right?
No. The choice I make is...
But you make that choice, right?
Yes, I do. If they have a micro penis, I will have sex with them.
Maybe
Continue.
so, right? But here's the
Okay.
thing, right? Let's say he deals drugs. Is it
Okay.
wrong for me to say you shouldn't have sex with someone that deals drugs?
Is it wrong? You can say whatever you want. I'm
He's
just
messing
not
up
really
his
sure what the
community.
argument is.
He's destroying his community. He's hiring children to go out into a dangerous area because he doesn't want to actually go out there. He's paying them like a fraction of the cost of the drugs that he's selling. He's an awful person. He doesn't care. He's a terrible person. Should you be with someone that terrible?
Should I be with? I don't know. Do I care? Like, do you care at all about
Okay.
what people
Okay,
want?
we have another
I
guest.
feel like
at
that's
all?
not a good way
have
to
another
define like
guest.
the value of a person. I feel
That
like
is
that's
so
very
weird.
situational.
I'm
Like
not asking
Artie
about the
Bypath
value of
is
the
in here
person.
too, to
I'm not asking
defend,
about the value of the
to
person.
attack monogamy, and monogamy destroyer Artie Bypath is here.
oh no.
Amen.
Well, okay, so let me clarify. My point is, like, we make choices and decisions based on the people that we want to have relationships with all of the time. How do we split the difference between it? Because we can do it on physical attraction, like, really easily. He's too short. But why is it then when we start asking all these moral questions, like the person is dealing drugs or the person's a murderer, now we stop and say, wait a minute, hold on, that's not fair. Like,
Okay,
I'm trying to understand
$5
that.
to you, actually, Zeeku. $5 from Kilo the Giant to ask, would the
Mm-hmm.
panelists be in favor of a parental license being required to have children, contingent upon psych evals and a qualifying test?
I struggle
In
to
theory,
to,
yes.
to
In
say
practice,
the
no.
government. Yeah, I don't think the government should ever
No,
have that much
yeah.
power.
I'm
I
with
don't
you.
trust them. People are very, very, very
I
infallible.
think we all agree that the
and,
government can't deal with marriage. Why are we getting
No.
them involved with childbirth?
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah,
too
I
much power.
also I wouldn't be okay with license as much, but I would like to make it mandatory that once people have gotten pregnant and agreed to keep the baby, they would be subsidized to go to a training program for good parenthood, like in terms of like developmental education and stuff like that. And that kind of circumvents a lot of the licensing while still allowing a lot of freedom, and that would be what I would support.
Would they
So
have to go
just-
to this training program? Or would it be optional?
It's not. I mean, I'm sure there will be like loopholes, but generally you're meant to participate. Yeah, it's not supposed to be something that you don't do because you don't feel
If you like
it.
fail the licensing thing, I would say you gotta go to the thing.
Maybe you could do like I'm not a huge expert on this, but maybe you can create like financial incentives for people to come to the training program or something like that. But yeah, licensing is just not practical. There are a lot of issues with that. Like if a perfect world existed, yeah, I'd be fine with it. But even the concept of a license, it's like, okay, they didn't get the license, so what? You abort the baby? Like what happens? You know, like it doesn't make any sense. So yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I
that
wanna-
always begs the question when that comes up. Like,
Yeah, I
what do
wanna-
you do when people fail this?
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to kind of bring it back, circle it a little bit back to the original. We're going off on eugenics and all sorts of fun, interesting subtopics, but I want to get back to the meat of the question.
Wait, I have a way to get us back.
I was getting there, but go ahead. Let's try your way.
Okay, so Zico, just to engage with what you said, I think that the difference of why when we have certain moral questions, like I and other people might suddenly go, oh, wait, is because some things like morals are very much subjective and we understand that different people might have different preferences.
Well, I would disagree, but
I know you would disagree. That's also a difference in moral philosophy that we have, right? That's the issue. But like, because that's my position, because I'm aware of its subjectivity even more, and I find it subjective, I'm not as willing as you to make those claims as much, which is why when things get really moralistic, I'm like, wait, hold on that. I'm not signing off on this.
okay, but there's got to be some things that you can say that are
Absolutely.
objectively wrong. If I take
No.
a child and I tell him to sell drugs for me and go into dangerous environments, you don't think that that's wrong. We can't agree on that. Do I
That's
have
not
to
what
explain?
objectively wrong means.
Okay, but like, can we agree? Can we at least, for
Would
the
you
sake of this
discourage it?
conversation, could we agree? Could we
Of
agree?
course,
that
I
that's
would
wrong?
discourage
Yeah.
like child abuse. Yes.
Okay,
I
right.
would discourage child
Okay,
abuse.
so if we
Right.
bring it back to the conversation I was having, right? Because I thought it was really interesting that you said that we shouldn't discourage the serial killer like family, right? Like maybe execution might be
No,
too
I
harsh,
didn't
right?
say that.
But you did. Was I wrong when you came up with the scenario of the doctor and the serial killer?
Yeah, I was making fun of the notion
She
that
was
like
memeing.
you measure people like that.
So even if we don't measure people like that, like the purpose of, I'm sure.
I don't know what discouraging the parents of the serial killer means. What does that mean?
This isn't getting back to what
Okay,
I wanted
sorry.
to discuss.
I need to go pee.
This failed. Well, okay. Well, go do your thing, and we'll let you'll. When you get back here, we have a super chat for you actually, so we'll wait until you're back for that. But I want to talk more about hookup culture and modern dating, and I'm curious to Artie and Victard, right? In what ways, right, is modern dating failing, and in what ways is it succeeding on a whole, like in general? In what ways is the American kind of Western dating scene good and better than it was before, and in what ways is it objectively worse, in your opinions?
Sure. I think it's easier now than ever to find a partner. With online, there are more communities than ever. Whether it's Tinder or dating apps. Maybe for women, but it's easier now than it ever has been to find a love or a partner or romantic interest.
For women.
Or gay men.
Yeah,
right.
I might disagree with
But
this, honestly.
I mean, it's easier for some people, certainly. So I think that's a positive. I think that it is failing for men. I think that is something that we can talk about. There is an increase in loneliness in young men. I don't think, from what I've seen from the young men that I've spoken to in my life and that I know in my life, they seem pretty successful on the dating scene. I don't know how dire this loneliness is on the ground. I've heard 30% of this 30% figure thrown out, that young men under 30, I believe, are virgins or haven't had sex in a year. I think that's a huge gap between being a virgin at 30 and not having gotten laid in a year at 30. So I think that statistic might make it seem, kind of overblown, and that is the thing that I keep on hearing over and over again that's pointed to as this epidemic of loneliness.
Before we go on, I'm okay. I'll put my thumb on the scales a little bit here because you guys are Lactoid and them are outnumbered here. I would take issue with it's easier to find someone now than ever before, even for women, right? Not only is loneliness and non-relationships increasing for men, it's also increasing for women. The top percent are having a much easier time now, but everyone else below that is taking a hit, right?
Yeah,
and the bottom portion are getting left out altogether. So not only, for example, do men and women have to compete with their local options, whereas they've always had that issue, right? They've always had to compete locally. But now you have to compete almost to a much wider degree, right? To a much wider area, right? Not only do I have to compete with people who are within my local circle, but everyone, literally everyone in a 50-mile radius is who you're competing with when it comes to things like dating apps, social media and hookups and things like that. And so, yes, I would say that the top percent, much easier time. The middle percent, taking a small hit. The bottom percent are just getting decimated. But I want to, Katee, I want you to go, but I want Artie to answer the question too. Did you hear the question, by the way?
No, but I have something to say. Also, I have a joke. Okay.
Oh,
are you waiting for the joke?
I'm waiting for the
Which
joke.
person is going to go first? Okay.
The joke was just going to be that, yes, it is harder for women as well, especially because then they go to a hookup, they get raped, and then Destiny says that if they got raped, they're a retarded child and they shouldn't have done that. There you go. Let's continue.
That's not accurate. That's not fair to Destiny. I have to disagree.
I am not. We are not. Nope. I'm nipping this one in the bud. We can debate on Destiny another day. Artie, go ahead.
Okay.
Please,
also, Pep is fine. I didn't realize you were referring to me at first, but just Pep.
Oh, Pep
is
Sorry.
good. No worries. So I think if we scale it back to the monogamy, non-monogamy question, I think if you want to have more successful, healthy, monogamous relationships, you have to kind of advocate for some non-monogamy, because otherwise you're doing the equivalent of what was happening before, before gay marriage and everything was allowed, where gay people were ending up getting married to straight people, and it was not great for either of them in those situations. So I think compulsory monogamy, forcing not people who would be better off in non-monogamous relationships into compulsory monogamous relationships, is a recipe for disaster and ends up in a lot of more toxicity in relationships than if they were in a relationship format that was healthier and more applicable to them.
To build up on that,
just first. I want to read some super chats, and then you can go. I gotta make my money. $5 for fondue to say, Katie, how would it feel if you didn't have breakfast yesterday? And $10 from No Step on Snake. If non-monogamy is bad, what about masturbation? Self-partnering is a thing now, right? Okay. That's it. Go ahead.
So I didn't have breakfast today, so it felt like every day when I don't have breakfast. Second of all, to build up on what Pepe said, can I call you Pepe? Is Pepe fine?
No, Pep.
Pep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Pep. Sorry about that.
It's all right. You're good.
Just to build up on what she said, I don't like the conflation in this panel that somehow promiscuity and adultery is the same as having a non-monogamous relationship. Like, you can be promiscuous and be in a monogamous relationship. You can be in a non-monogamous relationship and not cheat. You can cheat in a non-monogamous relationship. This is all like conflating promiscuity with non-monogamy in terms of non-monogamous relationships is really dumb and uninformed.
I fully agree.
Also, the one other thing that I want to say earlier is that I do think there's a loneliness epidemic, but the fact that people are constantly conflating how much sex people are having to loneliness is quite disgusting. I think using sex as a supplement for loneliness is a bad route to go. So I think just checking how much sex people are having and then calling it a loneliness epidemic is like really male gaze centric, by the way, if I'm going to like put some shit in. So yes,
it's just an example. It's not the end all be all. It's an example of
it's the only example anyone ever brings up. Okay,
but it isn't. In fact, there's an entire community called incels of young men talking about the fact that they can't even get a call back. They can't even go up and talk to young ladies, let alone
which is
have sex
all
with them.
romantic dating that wants to lead to sex.
Okay,
and I think that community
is sex the
specifically
only thing, or is it a part of what makes that relationship what it is? Because
is
oftentimes
the sex that the incels want to have about reproduction?
Hold on.
Is it?
I would say absolutely yes. See, you laugh.
Not
You
always.
mock
No.
these young men.
Not
You
always.
laugh and you mock these young men, right? Okay, so some of them want to participate in the hookup culture, sure. Some of them want to have monogamous relationship with young ladies, and they can't.
You realize
Like,
you
all men
can
aren't
want
the
to have
same
a
type of
monogamous
people.
relationship and not have children, right?
Okay, what difference does that make? Yes, of course you can. I
It
just said some
does,
people
because
want to
you made an
participate in the
argument
hookup
about that.
culture, and then I said some of them want to have a strong monogamous relationship.
Right,
We're
but
not
I
the
think
same
I
type
think
of
the
people.
biggest
The long and short is-
biggest problem with incels is they're a community of people that are looking inward for reason, or they're looking externally for reasons to their inward problems, and a lot of that that community, and the fact that they formed into a community that is encouraging each other to that there is a problem with women in general, not themselves.
It's
to
both.
an extent.
Have you how often have you engaged with incels?
I've engaged with incels as much as anyone else online, I guess.
I'm not sure, because if you engage with incels, most of the time they blame their own looks as the problem. That they are not genetically
indirect.
There's
That's
something wrong
that's
with
what
them.
they're-
they
that's
blame
what
their
some of them
looks
did,
on
but then
women
they
not
have
wanting
the
them.
entire
The
red
origin
pill
that is
movement.
women.
Stop. There's like 20 people
Sorry.
trying to talk. Pep, go ahead.
So I think that there's little grains of truth in both. I think that incels as a community have developed like a really toxic way, a mindset of like trying to handle the current problem of the loneliness epidemic, which I do think is actually legitimate. I think that when I feel like I've gone on this spiel before, I think on a different panel, but I think that women have undergone a lot of changes, like society-wise. There's been so much of a difference in messaging in the last 50 years. And so women and their role in society has changed a lot in the last 50 years. Whereas for men, there really hasn't been a huge shift in messaging until very recently. And even now, I don't think the shift in messaging is like the main, I think the main message to men is still like, get a job and like support a family, and that's like all you need to do. And that's not enough nowadays, now that women can support a family too, and men are floundering because they have to bring more to the table than what they had to bring 50 years ago. So I think that's a legitimate concern, and I think that the loneliness epidemic has something to do with that. I just think the incels are dealing with it in the worst possible way.
I want to give the floor to Lactoid, who's been trying to get in here. I know he's frustrated, so if Lactoid, you have some space.
Go Lactoid.
There's just a lot of things. We just seem to be like all over the place. The first thing, it seems like young men specifically are having a problem with getting economically engaged and educationally engaged. I think the part of the issue is that perhaps we aren't encouraging that as much as we should be in young men. Not that that's like the only thing that they can bring to the table. A lot of men can't even bring that to the table now. And of course, it's going to put you at a disadvantage when, again, we're talking about having a child. Your economic status absolutely does matter. And that is an important thing to encourage to people who are going to go ahead and have a kid. Something that was said before about how non-monogamy and infidelity aren't necessarily the same thing, even though they are correlated. That's right. Of course, they're not the same thing. I don't think anybody is saying necessarily that they are the same thing. The question is, like, when it comes specifically to non-monogamy, a lot of people here just seem to be like shooting from the hip and saying, well, this could be a way, for people to be happier. But there's no evidence that demonstrates this. There's nothing that demonstrates this is like a good way of life. All the evidence appears to show the contrary. And it's just like, it blows me away, because there'd be no other behavior that if we were in this panel talking about some other behavior, and I could show you like study after study showing that either causally or correlationally, this behavior is linked to bad outcomes, so much so that the CDC, which I thought we worshipped here, is saying that we should reduce the number of sexual partners we have. And people are still just like not engaging with the point. Like, give me one statistically empirical, concrete benefit that you get from non-monogamy compared to monogamy.
So, as Pep said, it's going to be very difficult for me to prove to you that non-monogamy is as good as monogamy. You know why? Because it was also impossible to prove that single-sex households were as or better than like different sex households before we allowed gay people to get married and raise children.
How many children have to be?
You can't have data about something that you don't really allow or socially permit.
No, we have the data on it. We have the data on non-monogamy, people who practice non-monogamy, and we also have the data from single-sex parents. And the data indicates that the kids to gay parents are just fine. So I'm looking at the data. I'm saying, yeah, if people who want to bring who come to the argument, hold on. If you're going to come, if I'm arguing against somebody, all the data on non-monogamous relationships so far that I have seen, every single one indicates either it on any like given metric, either it has no effect or a negative effect. There's no positive benefits that come from this.
Okay, and you think monogamy has positive benefits that come from it?
Objectively.
Yes. Objectively. There's a reason the CDC acknowledges it.
Do you know why? Because we socially encourage and provide for it and allow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Herpes is not a social construct, okay? HIV isn't something that we can just imagine, all right?
Yes,
literally
very
found
easy
like
for you.
3 studies showing that the health and approval of relationships and overall satisfaction was on par with monogamous relationships.
Yes, the same or worse. I said the same. There's a lot of metrics in which it's the same, but there's a lot of metrics in which it's worse. Can you name me one metric in which non-monogamous people are actually better off than monogamous couples?
Why would
I think
we
the
need
overall
to do
relationship satisfaction for those that are in them would probably be happier in the non-monogamous ones than if they were in the. I think
that's not true.
I think.
No. This is not true. This is not true.
I completely wholeheartedly a lot of this is from anecdotal experience as well, but I wholeheartedly disagree, and I'll read these studies further to see if I can.
Listen.
For relationships, it's going to be all self-reporting, of course. Yeah, obviously.
Saying, right? But we can look at the objective results.
So then, monogamous relationship self-reporting would be equally invalid.
But here's the thing: we can see objectively the children are doing better in school. The children have more food. The children have a much easier time getting into education and getting different types of scholarships. Like, we can objectively see that these children are performing better in these monogamous relationships versus the children that aren't.
There have been
I don't.
studies.
What do you think non-monogamy
specifically
is?
comparing non-monogamous
What do you think
relationships and
non-monogamy
like
is?
development and success.
Non-monogamy is having multiple sexual partners in this case, and the ideal is the
That's
ideal.
not a
The, I,
non-monogamous
two different things.
relationship.
the ideal.
Oh
Okay,
my fucking god.
Okay,
The- the
stop,
idea-
stop,
No, this
stop,
is-
stop,
let me-
stop.
let me-
All
let
of
me
you stop.
explain.
I want both. I want Katee, Pep, and 𝕵𝖎𝖙 to define for me what you think non-monogamy is.
Non-monogamy in the current cultural lexicon, I believe, refers to ethical non-monogamy most of the time, unless people
Which
are
is you got to be
ethical
more
non-monogamy.
specific.
Sorry, yes, ethical non-monogamy is when people consensually engage in having more than one partner. Sometimes that involves having a primary partner who, like, you experience things outside of the relationship but always come back to the primary partner. Sometimes it's more equally distributed, but in all these cases, it's agreed upon to be non-monogamous with the consent of all participating parties.
Can I also define it?
Yes, is it similar or different?
I just Googled it.
Okay, well, what's Google say?
Okay, so maybe I fucked up here. I Googled non-monogamous relationships, which is what I was talking about the entire time. And it says that non-monogamy is an umbrella term for any relationship style involving more than two people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wait, read the second sentence. Wait, read the second sentence. Particularly that of having only one person for whom to exchange sex, love, and or affection.
Wait,
because
people
that's
of all
monogamy.
romantic or sexual orientations can practice non-monogamy. This means that these relationships may or may not include a sexual and or romantic component. Okay. May or may not. What's the issue?
Are you just denying this is involving sex? I mean, if we're just talking about like crushes, holding hands on the bus, I don't give a
What
fuck.
are you talking about?
We're talking about people who go and fuck other people. That's like non-monogamy, having a whole bunch of sex partners.
No, you just got two fucking definitions for it. Are you?
What are you referring to? Holding hands on the bus?
Wait.
Kissing?
Wait.
Flirting, relationships?
Look, I had an understanding of what non-monogamy was. Now I no longer do. Pep,
Yeah.
And Katee specifically. So are you saying, by definition, me having, if I had a partner that I was having sex with, and then someone else that I didn't have sex with, but we would hang out and we formed a bond, would I be in a non-monogamous relationship?
If you guys defined it as a romantic relationship, there are asexual people who are romantic. So I think that would be people consider emotional cheating to be cheating, and people consider that to be an affair. So I think absolutely yes.
Interesting. I'm curious how
That's not my answer.
Okay, let's read the CDC's definition of monogamy.
No, stop.
Well, can I expand on this one real quick too?
Well, can I make my comment first, and then yes. You may expand. Sure. My comment here is that definition seems so loose as to if I have a friend that I'm really close to, that it means I'm cheating on my significant other, right? That feels insane to me, but help me, please. Go ahead, clarify.
I feel like when you get into nebulous things like that, like this is why emotional affairs are such a problem, because they are nebulous, and some people, they go on for so long because people are like, oh, this is just somebody I'm close to, but there are certainly, I feel like it's one of those things where like the lead up to it being as serious as a connection as your partner is nebulous, but once it's there and both people are like, oh yeah, we're connected, then I think that would still be able to, I think based on the people in the relationship defining it as a romantic relationship, I think that's fine.
Mutual monogamy means that you agree to be sexually active with only one person who has agreed to be sexually active only with you. That's right off the CDC's website.
Yeah,
I thought that's the definition we were going with.
I understand the emotional cheating aspect. I get that. But usually the emotional cheating is a problem because it increases the likelihood of you actually cheating to a very significant
No, some people
degree.
see it as an issue even without that.
I'm sorry. If you guys are using the definition of monogamy to simply mean have one sexual partner, what does this have to do with a long-term relationship or anything like that?
Because that's the objective of being with that person.
Okay, that doesn't matter. So are you saying that monogamy are you saying that monogamy is just about having one sexual partner? Because then I don't know why you would bring up the benefits of like marriage or being in a long-term relationship, because those things don't have to do, like all the benefits that you're talking about from monogamy have to do from the long-term viability of that relationship. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about anymore.
Have you just ignored every point? We're like literally when we're talking about monogamy, minimizing the amount of sexual partners you have, and we've talked at length about the benefits that come with that, like the lower on average unplanned pregnancies, the lower on average STDs, the better on average mental health.
Why do you know from the statistics that you're citing that the better mental health that is associated with monogamy is associated with having a long-term partner that is there for you, that supports you, that spends the rest of their lives with you?
Yeah,
this is retardation. This is so dishonest.
No, I have another study that shows that like people who have a lower amount of sexual partners are more satisfied in their marriage, have more successful marriages.
Also, I know I came into this late. Are all these studies like in a chat somewhere that I could look at?
I mean, I can start like linking all the ones I'm referencing. I've had the discussion several times, so I'll have to like go and pull up the ones.
You cannot cite to me stuff about monogamy if by monogamy you're also involving marriage, because your definition of monogamy is just having one sexual partner. This is stupid.
The study was number of sexual partners, effect on happiness of marriage, successfulness of marriage. You're saying I'm dishonest. Literally, I'm the only person that's come here with any kind of statistical reality. I put forward empirical information, and you guys just want to fuck a whole bunch, so you're just ignoring it. That's literally what's happening right now.
No, I think you're conflating promiscuity and non-monogamy again. That's a huge problem with this entire discussion.
But hold on.
You're going there are some people.
Non-monogamy and promiscuity.
There are plenty of people who are non-monogamous. Sorry, there are plenty of people who are non-monogamous who are not promiscuous. They have like the same 3 partners. I've known a non-monogamous
one partner.
That's
okay, but it's different than being like, okay, wait. But I think when people say promiscuity, people think like these people want to go out and fuck whenever they want. They want to fuck a lot of people. They want to fuck new and novel people.
Oh, those are like hyper-promiscuous. Those are hyper-promiscuous people. Yeah.
Promiscuous doesn't necessarily. Then that doesn't at all account. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't account for people in poly relationships. So promiscuity and non-monogamy should be different.
Okay, so
no, I know plenty of polycules who have been the same like 5 people for fucking years.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that we have different categories for this, right? We've got the open relationships that we see, where the 2 people come back to each other, but then every now and again, if they see someone they find attractive, they might indulge in it and then have sex with them. Like
some relationships might be like that, but not all open relationships are like that.
And then some of them, or you've got like a hub network, right? And then they have other people on the side who come in and have sex with them from time to time. Like that. That's
are we going to try to define like every type of like ethically non-monogamous relationship? Because I think that's part of the problem.
He doesn't know anything about non-monogamy. This is why I meant like there's no education on this.
Because here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I could probably still argue that each of those that I just defined are still problematic in their own ways and are inferior to a monogamous relationship, which I think is the core of what we're trying to say here. Is
what I'm trying to say here? No. You can't say relationship if what you mean by monogamous is having one sexual partner. Because I was talking about non-monogamous fucking relationships, and then you brought promiscuity into it. So fucking decide which one you want to do, and then fucking keep to it.
But they're not 2 separate things. If I'm in an open relationship, I can then be promiscuous. They're not contradictory. One kind of would preclude the other, actually. I'm in an open relationship.
Here. Oh, we'll put in this language.
Okay, we're going to use this language.
Promiscuity is a spectrum, right? You can be a little bit promiscuous in which you have 5 sex partners, or you could be very promiscuous in which you have 30 sexual partners.
All of you, I got to make my money. $2 for Fondue say it's the exact same definition for all 3. No, it's not. $2 from Chip to say, what if you're for monogamy but you're single? $5 from Kilo the Giant to say, Lactoid, non-monogamy just means multiple romantic relationships. Doesn't have to do with having multiple sexual partners and has no sexual connotation. My question to Katie...
the CDC disagrees!
My question to Katie...
Maybe the CDC is fucking out of date.
Look,
Maybe things need to be changed.
So when it
because
comes to
is all
this, you don't
fairly
believe in the
new
CDC.
phenomenon.
given that most
With relatively new social phenomena,
I trust the science, okay? I follow the science.
Well, then
okay?
I hope the science
CDC tells me
catches
something.
on.
I'm not going to like doubt it for this conspiracy theories.
To be
fair,
stop.
I might
Oh my
actually agree
God.
with this. I have to look at it first. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'm
Wick.
getting annoyed myself. Gang, you gotta let me speak when I'm trying to speak. It's my show. Don't take my show from me. Okay.
Mute them.
Yeah, just mute me.
I will absolutely start. I don't like to, but I will. Okay. To Katee, to Pep, to 𝕵𝖎𝖙. We understand that most people, in general, when they are in a relationship with someone that is romantic, most people engage sexually. Most.
This has nothing to do with my argument.
How now, brown cow? How so? Because we're talking about generalities. We're making general claims. And if you're claiming, as Lactoid seems to be, that having multiple sexual partners leads to bad outcomes, we have to look into ethical non-monogamous relationships because they are, in most part, engaging sexually with multiple partners. No? Yes? Where am I missing this? Help me.
So
also, the subject was hookup culture. I want to be clear on that too.
But go on.
Okay, so I would want to see like the actual study because do they account for multiple partners in long-term relationships? Or are they just, is that like in the data at all? Do they distinguish that or no? Because if not, then it's useless.
The number of the more sexual partners you have, there is a
so they didn't
linear
it, is what it sounds like.
The more sexual partners you have, there's like a linear. Look, I'll have to go back and read exactly if they control for this specific kind of relationship. You guys are changing it though. The original discussion was on hookup culture.
If you're
we were talking,
the same
hold on. We were talking about hookup culture and how hookup culture is toxic. If we want to talk about specific relationships in which there's like 5 people and they all get tested like beforehand, maybe this group of people would be outside the CDC data. I guess. I'm not sure.
I would assume so.
I think in most cases,
I mean, that's such an aberration. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, it's not an aberration in a lot of.
It absolutely is. Let's be real.
In ethical, not in ethical non-monogamous relationships. It's not an aberration. No, you don't know shit about ethical. How many people who are poly do you know? Because I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Case in point. It's an aberration.
Okay, well, I know a lot. Maybe they're not in your area. Maybe you're not friends with them. Maybe you haven't made the right friends. I don't know, but I know plenty.
Fam, let's not sit here and pretend that if I were to go to Walmart right now and I were to literally interview everyone in Walmart, I'm going to literally find one person in a polyamorous relationship.
Depending on
an ethical one.
That sample size might quite literally result in 0 people. That's how abnormal it is.
Zeeku thinks gay people are irrelevant too, okay? Don't worry about it.
That's not true.
Got it. Okay, that does help.
To some gay people in a Walmart. Let's be real. They're probably not going to be, oh, I've got 3 other gay people on the side. Here's my main one. They're going to be 2 gay people together, those 2.
Lactoid, the people in my chat are asking for the study. Can you DM it to me so I can link it to my YouTube chat?
Can I say something?
Brother, so I will link it, but I'll let you know real quick. To everybody in your fucking chat, literally, the Wikipedia on sexual promiscuity in humans, you can look through. They have in the citations, like 25 citations, linking every single fucking study, government funded, a lot of them, saying, hey, sexual promiscuity has this horrible effect. Sexual promiscuity has this horrible effect. Or this horrible effect. This horrible effect. Like over and over and over again.
Katee, go before you explode. Katee, go before you explode.
Just total laziness. Just not even reading up on this.
Okay. I understand that there was a miscommunication in the panel. Apparently, Lactoid and Zeeku was under the impression that they can use the term non-monogamy and simply mean promiscuous. When I was talking about non-monogamy, I was obviously talking about non-monogamous relationships, which is why I continue to say non-monogamous relationships. Since I believe Lactoid has some info about non-monogamous relationships, but from what Zeeku said, he clearly does not know what that even means. So I don't doubt. I don't doubt that we have spoken past each other. If you guys wanted to talk about promiscuity versus monogamy, that's fine. But this whole thing started because I said, I think we should encourage people to do whatever they want, meaning go monogamous, go non-monogamy relationship-wise, or go nothing at all, or anything in between. And you guys don't know what non-monogamy is, so you can't even engage with the fucking point. Thank you. I'm done now.
It was on hookup culture. Literally, the beginning of this, the question that Wick asked was on hookup culture. What do you think hookup culture means?
So I am coming into this late, and I do have opinions on hookup culture too. But you guys were talking about non-monogamy when I came in, so that's where I was coming from.
Just to clarify, we're talking about whatever's interesting to me, and now this is what's interesting to me. So now this is
I need to react to Lactoid. I need to react to Lactoid.
But we gotta let Pep.
What's new?
We gotta let Pep go too, though. Pep.
Oh, that was all
Please,
I was saying about
I beg
that.
of you.
Yeah, no, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, fuck you. It's Lactoid.
And
It's fine.
Is dying. Okay, but go ahead.
It's fine if you want to come here with your studies and your research, which I appreciate, and talk about the value of monogamy. However, when you're talking about the value of monogamous relationships, i.e. marriages and long-term monogamous relationships, that does not simply mean I have one sexual partner at a time. In fact, earlier today, when you and I were talking and Wick brought up serial monogamous people, you guys got indignant about it. This is fucking bullshit and disingenuous. Stop bringing up the positive elements of monogamy when you're talking about monogamous long-term relationships.
What? Okay, hold on.
So anybody knows,
it's
like,
one and the same. I'm sorry, but like from our point
I
of view,
disagree.
and maybe I'm
They're
wrong with
not
Lactoid.
one and the same.
No, I know
See, that's the
plenty of
problem.
people
Oh my
who are
God.
I'm
not.
gonna break up with
So
you, go far,
Wait,
and then
can
come
I-
back together.
stop.
Wait,
I will
can
let you
talk
answer.
about my?
I will let you answer, Zeeku, but $5 for the trip to say those studies would say reduced numbers should reduce things like STDs, not that reduced numbers do. Their main point is for staying clean, not mono. Thank you, the trip, for the $5.
That's a brainless response. but-
I know. Pep, I wanted to give Pep some space. Then Zeeku.
Okay.
Then you can respond to both of them. I'm sure you'll respond to both of them. And then we have to, gang. We have to let 𝕵𝖎𝖎 in. 𝕵𝖎𝖎 has been so patient.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any measurable difference between having a person who has sex with one person at a time in succession, sleeping with like one person at a time in shorter relationships, than there is with like promiscuity, essentially. I don't think there's a measurable difference there most of the time, depending on the frequency that they're getting in and out of these monogamous relationships. Like, I do agree that you guys are primarily seem to be defending just long-term, like serious, maybe marriage, monogamous relationships, not just monogamy in general. Because I know plenty of people who are monogamous, but they've fucked a lot of people in their life.
No, okay.
In monogamous
I understand,
relationships.
But okay. If you are engaging in serial monogamy, you're not monogamous. That's a joke, right? Like, you're just
No, that's why I want it. I mean, there's a definition for that. So some people clearly don't think it's a joke, but you guys are that's separate from what you guys are defending.
But that's the thing. That's why we're trying to split the difference, right? From and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Lactoid can correct. From our point of view, when we say monogamy, we are inscribing in the definition a long period of time with that person, a long-term commitment.
So what's like the
saying,
cutoff?
right?
When do relationships actually start to be valid for you?
What do you mean by valid?
Valid is a monogamous relationship, because if not, then they're just a promiscuous hookup, is what it sounds like.
That would
according
be the
to
case
your guys'
if
definitions.
if it's a one night stand short term, like we're only together for like 1 day, 1 week, then I would say no.
Okay,
it's
what
not
if
long-term
what if one
relationship.
person
I guess
dates
valid
somebody
would
for
be-
like a month?
So
What if
was
they
the
get
intention-
married the same day?
So okay, how long have they been married? Because if they get divorced next week, then well, that's not a long-term relationship. So it's got to be
Also-
a period of time. So let's say 6 months, right? To be arbitrary, 6-month relationship, like at least, just to be arbitrary.
You consider that to be monogamous, and anything
So
before
there we
that
go,
is
yeah.
promiscuity. Interesting.
In short intervals, I would say.
I think a lot.
absolutely.
Okay,
I don't
I'll
think
help
could
you out
disagree with
because
that.
I have a different answer here. It's about intent, right? It's about intent. There's people who are monogamous solely because their partner will only accept monogamy, right? It's a
Forced
you don't cheat
monogamy.
on me, I don't cheat on you kind of deal, right? And I think that most people well, I won't even say most, but a lot of people that are monogamous fall into that camp. But they're being coerced into monogamy. They aren't monogamous. If you understand the distinction here, like I'm talking, at least when I'm referring to someone who is, when I'm referring to monogamy, I'm talking about people who desire, want, and work for long-term, lifelong relationships. They're not always successful, but that is the intent. And that is the goal with one single individual partner.
So there are plenty of those short-term monogamous relationships that start that way, that people go into with exactly that intent, that just don't end up that way.
Yes, for a variety of reasons, some good, some bad.
Yeah.
Like some
so those don't
you
count as
might even
relationships
call them
according
serial monogamous.
Yeah, I would.
At that
I
point.
would call them serial monogamous.
But that would be more incidental than purposeful, though. That would be
it doesn't matter. The end result is the same. So I would say that, like, effectively, almost all serial monogamy is with the intent for long term. Because short term ones, people aren't going to be like, oh yeah, I'm dating this person. They're going to be like, oh yeah, that's my like friend with benefits. That's this person. They probably won't even counter it. They'll be like, oh, I hooked up with this person. They're not going to be like, yeah, this is the person I'm dating. People do that because they think there's going to be long-term shit in the future.
Okay, but that'd be a little bit different than like an honest hookup.
I can only talk, but I can only talk
So
from
when
personal
does
experience.
sorry,
when
yeah,
I went to college, I remember this. When I went to college for the first time, right? I remember meeting this girl and I started talking to her. And from my naive background, I thought that we were like much further along in the relationship than we were. And I learned what the word like talking meant. You know, like I had to ask around. So like I looked like an idiot. That was just me. Like it wasn't necessarily like that to me was hookup culture, but it was also just like the process of finding the right person that like fit my needs as an individual that I could build a life with, you know. And you try on different hats, and like that's what dating as a young person is. So I feel like that's just,
it's a critical failure in principle.
But to expect that you're going to be able to like find somebody to engage in this long-term relationship with, like best case scenario, it's an unrealistic expectation, and you can encourage that behavior. But like truly, like a lot of young people don't even know what they want, and they have to date a couple different people before they can even try and like figure that out.
No, they
do
don't.
you guys believe in sex before marriage or no?
Wait,
I don't.
I have to do this.
No.
You don't think it's a good idea? Okay.
Absolutely
not. You should minimize the amount of sex partners you have during life. Yes, the data states that. You should minimize.
But specifically sex
Please
before
stop
marriage.
talking about the data. Oh my god.
If you're in a monogamous relationship with the intent to hopefully marry a person someday, do you think having sex before marriage is bad, Lactoid?
I mean, as long as it's like, again, like you're reducing your number of people and it's like a monogamous intent. Like I said, I don't really think marriage is particularly important. So if you never got married, I wouldn't really care.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
you're
Can I say something?
You can, Katie. You can. But after I read this, I've been paid money to say this. Tell Katie she apparently took the black panel to heart because she culturally appropriated weed and cornrows, and tell the Raven cosplayer from Wish.com that her anecdote about a polycule doesn't mean shit to CDC data. Pick a definition and quit equivocating. Stasis,
who's the Ravenclaw thing?
Stasis, that was a mean statement. But I read it because you paid me.
I don't care.
Who's
not
the
Ravenclaw?
I don't.
Pep, are you the Ravenclaw?
I'm assuming it's me. Yeah.
Yes, it's you. Yes, you are the Ravenclaw.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I hope this guy's monogamous because I wouldn't wish him on other people. Anyway, moving on.
He would be on someone. He would be the woman he picked.
Okay, Katie, you were going. Go ahead.
I mean, that kind of person, she picked him, and poor girl. Okay, let's continue.
Women pick crappy dudes all the time, fam. I mean, that's
yes, and we should discourage them for doing that. Yes,
what?
we
so
should control people.
We should discourage that. Oh, you're mocking me, okay? Because I would agree. We should discourage it, absolutely.
I know.
Don't pick crappy people that treat you poorly. Yeah, we should 100% discourage that behavior.
Okay.
God forbid we say, pick a man that cares for you, loves you, and has some respect, right?
God forbid. Anyway,
okay.
I'm going to blow your mind, Zeeku, with this, okay?
Go ahead.
Let's imagine there's a couple. And I know you're going to say that it's not significant in terms of the population proportion. And I agree that it isn't, but I'm just really interested in yours and Lactoid's definition of this. Let's say there's a couple who's been married for 20 years, okay? They've been monogamous. They have been together. They've never stepped out or anything. Now, after 20 years, the husband comes to the wife and he's like, baby, I want to open our relationship. I want to become non-monogamous. And she says, baby, I've been fantasizing about this guy in work for a long time, and I'm ready to take our road to the non-monogamous side of town, okay? And then, are they promiscuous now? Like, is that, how would you define this?
I would say if she indulges, yeah, she's become promiscuous.
More promiscuous
they're
than before.
both. They're in a non-monogamous relationship now. They have agreed on it.
Okay, so is she having sex with the dude from work?
Yes, and the the husband is having sex with other people as well.
Then he's being more promiscuous. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are simply using the definition of promiscuous for non-monogamous, and now that I know that for 100%, that's good.
Hey, wait. How many people? Give me your definition here. How many people do you have to sleep with before you suddenly? Hold up. How many people do you think that you have to sleep with in order to be a promiscuous person? Give me a number.
Can I Google promiscuous?
It just means sexually available.
Having or characterized by many transient sexual relationships. And I think that's the definition that we're trying to change. It's not just multiple partners. It's the quality of the relationship as well.
But that's ridiculous.
According to the dictionary fucking definition.
That's ridiculous. But that's not how you operate.
Okay, so now we should ignore.
There can be poly people that are less promiscuous and poly people that are more promiscuous.
It's a separate category, and it's like a separate facet entirely. It's a different trait.
Okay, but let's not play games here, right?
No, but even someone who is in an ethical non-monogamous relationship, 9 times out of 10 are going to be more promiscuous than the person who's in a ethical monogamous relationship.
I disagree.
Are you joking? Okay. Let's ask the serious question.
Not 9 times out of 10. No.
Why would they need an open relationship to not be promiscuous? Go ahead.
Because they can love more than one person at the same time, and they want to fuck more than one person at the same time.
Would you say 8 times out of 10? I don't know about 9 times out of 10. I would
probably say like maybe 6 to 7 based on the poly people I know.
Okay, hold on.
I don't even know what side of the argument.
This is fuck. Yeah, this is ridiculous. We don't have to play like. Hold on. We don't have to like do this. So when you just listen to how we're using it. When we're talking about promiscuous, we're simply saying.
So we're discarding the dictionary definition.
Hold up. Listen to me, because under the dictionary definition, what does transient mean here? I don't fucking know. What's the length of time before something becomes transient compared to non-transient?
This isn't
we can play the games. We can play. Hold up. We could play these games, right? But let me explain.
Or you guys, can just say promiscuous.
If you would prefer that instead we just use the term somebody with a proclivity to have more sexual partners. If you want me to like say that whole fucking sentence out every time, I'll say it. I'll say it to make you happy.
Yeah, we don't need new words.
Because that's what I'm talking about is the problem.
For what we already have words for.
Yeah. Having more sexual partners is bad. Okay, that is the ultimate point here. So when you have somebody who's going and having shit happen like in a marriage, that is more sexual partners. Ergo, bad. That's it.
Okay, Katie, go ahead.
Okay, I think we can use the word promiscuous, and you don't have to say a lot of words, Lactoid. You can just say promiscuous. But when I say, hey, we should encourage people to be either monogamous or engage in non-monogamous relationships, you don't hear the word promiscuous in your head because you're uneducated on a topic. So you'll say promiscuous, and when I say non-monogamous, you'll actually understand what I mean, and then we cannot speak past each other like how we were meant to do from the beginning before you started pretending like what I'm saying was something different.
Well, so this is the ultimate problem with this, though, is because if you're going to accept our definition of promiscuity here, which is having more sexual partners, how can a non-monogamous person be less promiscuous? By definition, if you have more than one,
that's literally why we're taking an issue with how you're using these words.
But so then there's 2 problems, though. One, there's the objective reality.
Yes, you guys can't use definitions.
Hold on. Why are they in an open relationship to not have sex with other people? That's just the first question, right? Like just function.
To hold hands.
There's a difference between having sex with like just random people they come across that they want to fuck versus wanting to be in sexual relationships with people.
So can we not use the word that they're being promiscuous?
Yes! Literally!
We can't. So what word do we use to describe the act of having sex with multiple people? What word do we use?
It depends on the context in which it's happening. An orgy is fucking different from like a 3-person poly relationship. There's different words for them for different reasons.
Why is it? I mean, if we want to play super pedantic games, why is that? Why is that the case?
Because they describe entirely different things contextually.
Why? I mean, you could have a,
Why? Because the English language.
Where's the line? Where's the line between an orgy and a 3-person
Okay.
non-monogamous relationship?
I don't know if we want to go down.
So we're just okay.
10
so
minutes,
if you have,
20 minutes, 30 minutes. Where's the line?
This is literally what I was asking earlier about what defines like serial monogamous versus like an actual relationship. Because apparently, you're doing the same thing in reverse at me now, as if it's like legit though, instead of jokingly.
I understand when you guys are like trying to explain like the non-monogamous portion. I understand what you're saying. You're saying this is different than like somebody who just goes to the bar and takes home anybody. And I can agree with you that they can be different in scale. But I think promiscuity does apply to some level to both encounters, first of all. And second of all, you guys shifted to non-monogamy after we were talking about hookup culture.
So I would like to
maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't.
To be fair to Pep, that is true.
Yeah. I'm not gonna hold that against you. But
here, and gang, to be clear, the only original guest that I had was Zeeku. Everyone else is a replacement. So I appreciate you all being and bearing with me here. I want to. My struggle, what I am having a problem with, Katee. Well, your size, first of all, that's a problem. Okay. Second of all, right? My second problem is I think we are trying to retreat to word games to dodge the main point of Lactoid and Zeeku's point here.
No, because they're making different points, and every time we make progress with Lactoid, Zeeku brings us back, and then whenever we make progress with Zeeku, Lactoid brings us back. This is bullshit!
No. Wick's right. As usual, Wick. Good job. You're good. Yeah.
Because I think literally though, because I think we would agree that being promiscuous does increase your likelihood of STDs. That is a risk. Yeah.
Thank you. At least, okay,
even,
level 1.
Well, even by definition, a non-monogamous ethical relationship, by definition, because there are more people that you were engaging in sex with,
but if they're
that risk. I hope. She's having network issues, but it does increase the risk, right?
I don't think so. If it's the same, if it's the same 3 people all having sex with the same 3 people always, that is safer than somebody having like a 1-month relationship with somebody, then another 1-month relationship with somebody, then another 1-month relationship with somebody.
Yes,
if it's 3 people having the same sex with,
but it is less safe than 2 people having long-term. Sex
maybe
with
just
each other.
From like the pitfalls of.
Game, right?
If it's all contained within the same unit, it's not if like nobody has STDs and they're only fucking each other, where is the STD going to come from?
I see what you're saying.
I mean, if they all went and get tested beforehand, mitigate that.
But does it increase the risk? Because now you're relying on more people to be honest, right?
Risks of I was just going to agree with that. There is more of a risk of just the normal pitfalls of relationships, but I feel like a lot of those pitfalls happen because people who are only compulsorily monogamous end up stuck in monogamous relationships. I'm not saying every cheater should be in a monogamous situation. Sometimes they're just in shitty relationships and are too chicken shit to get out.
That's a point you brought up actually that I wanted to get Lactoid and Zeeku to answer because I don't think they ever engaged with it, and I'm curious what they would say. The point that you made much earlier about how monogamous relationships would be better, healthier, and more happy if they were allowed to cheat in a controlled fashion or to
wait, I said that?
You said something akin. You said something akin to it. That
cheating is kind of poisoning the well a little bit.
Okay. If you want, but engage with other people sexually in a controlled fashion.
That is what you said something akin
I'm saying, in like an ethically non-monogamous relationship. Yes. That wouldn't be like cheating in a marriage, though. That's entirely different because you need consent from both partners.
Yeah, but you were saying that the reason why some people would be unhappy in a monogamous relationship is because they can't express their sexuality with other people.
Yes, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead, please.
Pep, would you leaving aside like this scenario where you have like let's say 4 people who all get tested, don't have a lot of sexual partners, and they all agree to like form some kind of fucking squad. Yeah, sure. Let's say you have let's say you have this kind of scenario, okay? Leaving aside that scenario, don't you agree that we should discourage people from just like going to bars, bringing home people, and just sleeping with them? It's probably a good thing to discourage because of all the risks that come with that.
I have a lot of opinions on this that probably not everyone agrees with because I'm extremely pro sex work as well, because I recognize that I think physicality and physical connection between humans is really, really important, and it's more stigmatized than it should be. I don't necessarily think that hookup culture, where it's just like meaningless sex, is the most wholesome thing that we should be encouraging. I don't think we should be encouraging that as like the main goal.
Should we discourage it?
I don't think this is kind of like another panel. I think maybe we can say, hey, this is like the fast food of sex, but we shouldn't demonize it. We shouldn't be like, no, never do this. But we should be realistic about how it has more risks and it's not going to lead to long-term relationships. I think we should just be logical about it.
But you wouldn't like, so you're really kind of trying to get out of saying you would discourage it.
I don't, because I don't think we need to necessarily discourage it depending on people's goals. If all people want is just like a physical hookup, go hook up with somebody or see an escort. But if people want an actual long-term relationship, then yeah, we can just, if people,
so you don't think we should discourage
if somebody
hookups?
is asking for, if someone is asking for advice on like relationships and dating, and that's what they want, I would discourage hookups. But if people just want sex, then I would encourage hookups.
𝕵𝖎𝖐, do you think that we should encourage people just wanting sex or discourage people just wanting sex? Or neither? Is it neutral?
I think I mean, I think that if you do encourage people to just want sex, then you also have to be open and realistic with them about the potential consequences.
Yeah,
that come
absolutely.
with that, including the STDs, potential pregnancy, whatever that may be. Yeah. So like all these things are realities of just like how we live and what we want. But if somebody wants to just engage in mindless sex, if that's like if that's what they want, like they should be allowed to do that.
Well, we're not
Can I
talking
really quick before
allowances.
Pixie or before Katie?
We're not talking
because
allowance. No
it's
one's
kind of
going
like-
to ban it. Right?
But it's kind of like,
sorry, if
is
somebody
it
comes,
discouraged?
if somebody comes to me and says this is what I want, then yeah, I'd say then that's probably what you should do. I would absolutely encourage them to seek out that avenue, because
Is it discouraging people to wear to tell people to wear seatbelts? Is that discouraging them from driving, or is that just warning them of a potential consequence?
No, you discourage people not wearing their seatbelts. If you see somebody not wearing their
But are you
seatbelts, hey
discourring?
buddy,
So,
please,
yeah,
you should buckle up because I
discourage
don't want you
people
to
from
die.
not wearing condoms. Discourage people from not wearing condoms.
Yes,
Then
that too. We should discourage
but don't
all
discourage
activity.
people from having sex.
We should discourage all activity that leads to
So we
negative.
should discourage people from driving at all.
Ideally, you shouldn't drive more than you have to.
Well, to be fair,
I mean, yeah.
don't be a street racer. How about
Fuck
this? How about
NASCAR.
this?
Yeah, you probably shouldn't eat fast food if you can avoid it. You probably shouldn't smoke cigarettes
What
if
if
you can
people
avoid
just
it.
want fast food though? I mean, I agree with
Yeah,
cigarettes.
people want bad things.
Exactly. Is your desire just your God?
What if the heroin addict really wants the heroin?
No, but I think anything in moderation is not anything. But I think like if people indulge in moderation, why is that such a
A
problem?
little cocaine.
I think one. they
It's a
don't.
little smack here and there.
I think
If somebody does heroin once in their life, I don't think that they're like a morally bankrupt person for doing that, or
I'm
that
not
it's had like a
perhaps
huge
not.
impact on their life.
perhaps
I don't
Yeah,
think that it
and-
has an overall long-term consequence.
You're right, and yeah, you're right. If
Yeah.
somebody has one hookup, I'm not going to like demonize them, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that generally the activity itself should probably be discouraged, right? If you see
Katie
someone
is
about to
dying.
shoot up heroin,
Katie.
even if it's their first time ever, you
Katie.
say, "Hey, maybe don't do that. It's not that good."
Katie. Encourage people or discourage people from having sex?
Okay, Wick, I think it's really funny that you're not capable of understanding that when I said at the beginning, and Vikram is saying now, and Pep said earlier, that we want to encourage people to make their own choices, that's not an answer to you. I really think that's funny, and also I think it's incredibly immature.
Would you say this for anything else,
secondly, yes, I would say that for anything
For
else.
smoking?
Okay.
For heroin use,
For cocaine?
I think it's
Okay.
because to us we're looking at it
no,
differently.
no,
We're asking whether
sorry.
we want milk. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I am pro legalizing all drugs, so fuck you. Second of all, I don't like it when people smoke, but unless it's
If you had a child who was 18 years old,
Wick,
just
I'm
turned
not
18
done
years old,
speaking.
they said, I want to smoke, Mom. Can you help me smoke? Would you help them?
I'm not done speaking.
If my child was 18 years old and they wanted to smoke, I would hope by that point that I'd raise them that they would have. I would say, I encourage you to make your own decisions.
Oh, what do you want? What do you
I
want?
encourage you to make your own. If that's what,
Katie,
if that's
no,
what,
I
if that's what
interrupted
they want,
Katie.
if
I'm
that's
sorry.
what they want to
I
do.
interrupted Katie. I'm sorry. Katie, finish. My apologies.
Yeah. So the thing that is really frustrating about talking to people who have like religious elements into them, but also some other people, is that they treat morality as objective, and they also really like to enforce their morals onto other people. And the notion that other people might view like freedom of choice, even to make bad decisions, is like beyond them. Like they can't handle that. They want absolute control over what they think is good for someone.
No, it means nothing. I'm sorry.
And I think that because of that, there's an immediate incompatibility in this conversation, because I believe in freedom of choice to the extent that I believe people are allowed to make bad decisions on their own. And I believe that freedom overrides the control that you want to have over people's lives. You disagree, and that's okay. But that's just where I'm not going to move.
If I see Zeeku, but I got to respond to this. I was addressed.
Okay.
To Katee, I'm with you. I don't think I should be coercing or forcing anyone to make any decisions, even if they want to do something incredibly harmful. Even if they want to do heroin or these things, I should not, as an individual, right? Outside of very, very specific circumstances,
like
where they're
bullying
actually harming
fat people,
other
right?
people, right? Where they're actually harming other people, I should not be forcing this. But there is a substantive difference.
You support bullying fat people,
yes,
Wick.
because that is not force. That is persuasion. And there is a difference between these two things.
Bullying is not persuasion. It's just bullying.
It's just
abuse.
I can say, right? I can say that, hey.
That you're abusive. Yes.
You think that because
I want people
to be skinny, not skinny, because I want people to be healthy, that because I want people to live longer, because I want people to have happier lives, that I'm abusive.
I think that if you're disingenuous to the point where you call bullying persuasion and you say that that's not you trying to force your will onto someone, then I don't know how to engage with you, because that's very silly.
Yeah, I don't know the backstory to this, but bullying is suboptimal for that, and it's shown not to be super effective either.
Let's scale it down then, because I think it's
that data is awful.
No. I'm going to finish.
I'm happy to have better data.
Yeah, I like to go through because the actual how they define
yes,
bullying is actually crazy.
It's a very specific thing. Most people colloquially do not mean this, right?
Yes.
What do you mean? Well, I guess never mind. This is a deviation from this.
But it is a topic for another day, right? And we can have this discussion again. But Katee, the fact that you would not encourage any behavior, right, is weird to me. Obviously, I encourage people to do things that I want them to do. I encourage people to be less racist. I encourage people to vote. I encourage people to be less condescending. I encourage people to interrupt me less. I encourage these things, but I don't enforce them, right? I don't
you know
sit
what's
there
great, Wick?
and provide penalties to those who don't do it.
You know what the difference is? I think individuals can go around and encourage things, and that's fine. But when we talk about what society should encourage and discourage, we're no longer talking about people individually influencing their own personal sphere of influence with their own morals and values. We are saying that a society should have its own morals and values.
Society should be less racist. Society should have
let's not get carried away,
Wick. Society should encourage all of these things. Yes.
Should what things?
Being like all sorts of values, right? I think society
give me
should
the
encourage
values,
equality.
Wick. Give me the fucking values.
Are you against anti-smoking commercials?
Am I against anti-smoking commercials?
Yeah. Anti-smoking commercials have been shown to reduce smoking. Are you against anti-smoking commercials because that's society pushing a viewpoint on people?
That's not really society, unless the
It's an organization. It's an organization.
Is the commercials?
I guess, right?
Are the commercials from the government?
There's just only
a lot of them get funding from the government. Yes, the Truth Campaign, for example.
Okay, that's interesting. I think some things are okay for society to discourage and discourage, and some people are not, and some things are not.
I agree with you. I think
a lot of us agreed on this from the get-go. Of we should encourage safe sex, and we should encourage things that make promiscuity safe. I think we all agreed on that before, correct?
Yeah, but Wick is incapable.
Zeeku, no, I'm going to be the better man. Zeeku, take it away. Go ahead.
I think the reason why I have such a huge issue kind of with your opinion from the top is that it's what's the best way to put this, right? You're saying that
Nihilistic. You want to say nihilistic.
It isn't like there's not really a word. It's kind of this do as thou wilt type of mentality where you say, I want to encourage people to do whatever they want to do. As
yes,
such,
live and let live. Sorry.
Exactly. But there's nothing tangible about that, right? There's nothing to converse because people will do that regardless, right?
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they will, right?
No,
right?
They wouldn't.
As opposed to what are they? They're going to be controlled by a spider monster in
okay,
their
so
bedroom?
for example,
like they are going to make the choice they want to make.
So for example, before we normalized gay people wouldn't enter gay relationships. They would marry straight people.
And
So when you discourage them socially from doing something, they did what you told them to do.
Okay. So clearly, at some point, they decided to fight against that message, right? Clearly, at some point, they made commercials, they put it into TV shows, they wrote books, they made movies. Clearly, at some point, we've shifted in society from that position. Can you agree? Okay.
Sure.
So with that understanding, that means that
we should oppress people until they're tired of being oppressed.
Either way it goes. They still made the choice to do something different, and they fought against it in society. They pushed their messaging, and they got what they wanted. The long and short of it is, The long and short of it is, people made a choice of what they wanted to do. It's already destiny. People are already going to choose to make a choice. What we are saying
they
here,
chose. Okay,
but what we're saying here is what do you think people should do? And what you're saying is nothing. They should just do whatever.
No,
there's no conversation to be
You
had.
just like discount your own point in your same message.
How did I discount?
The point is that we are assuming that those gay people would have liked to enter gay relationships. They have made the choice to enter straight relationships because society discouraged them and stigmatized them having and disallowed them to have gay relationships. Okay. Meaning, while they made a choice. They made a choice, it is not the choice that they wanted to make. It was a choice enforced by them, by society.
Okay.
So due to the negative consequences they'd incur otherwise.
I got some housekeeping to take care of. I know some people, I want to give a chance for those of you who have other things to do at 8, because I have a 2-hour panel. I appreciate you bringing your time. We're not ending. We're going to open it up, but I want to give everyone here to have a chance to have a closing thought, and then if they need to go, they can go. I would love for you all to stay. But if you have somewhere to be, you have somewhere to be. Because this conversation is interesting to me. I'd like to keep it going. We're going to start with Katee, and we're going to move our way around. Katee, closing thoughts. Brief, concise.
Wick, I love you. You bring me endless frustration, but our sexual tension is undeniable. And if I was more promiscuous than I am, we would fuck. There you go.
Well, I mean, maybe if you bought me dinner and charmed me a little bit.
I don't buy people dinner. I'm just like, do you want my body or not?
Yeah, fair enough.
So
okay. Well, thank you for being here. I'm sorry for frustrating you, but that's that is what it is. So thank you. Lactoid, speaking of being more promiscuous with me, if I had the chance. Lactoid, go ahead.
What's up, Wick? Yeah, no, I think all the empirical evidence demonstrates that I'm correct, as usual. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Thank you for being... Katee and Lactoid both were last-minute replacements. I really appreciate you coming in with the strength and fire of 1,000 Suns. You guys did great. Appreciate you being here. Not a last-minute replacement. Someone I decided to bring on last minute because they wanted to. Pep, please.
So I would say Lactoid's data is not as good as he says it is because it doesn't take into account the separation between things like ethical non-monogamy and promiscuity. But besides that, we do agree on some things like discouraging the unhealthy behaviors related to hookup culture. But I think, overall, there's still a lot of disagreement between both sides. Anyways, you can...
when we get to
I'll take it.
I'm gonna ask you about the healthy behaviors of hookup culture. But where can people find you?
I'm Art by Pep on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, etc. I stream Sundays and Thursdays usually.
Check her out, okay. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate your contribution. 𝕾𝖍𝖎, another last minute replacement.
No, anytime. No, thanks for having me on. Happy Memorial Day. Look, I think that you guys do raise some good points about hookup culture having some negative consequences. I think there are some better ways to address those negative consequences as they come, than to just blanket say that hookup culture is wrong and therefore should be avoided. Because I think sex is cool. I would like to see more people having sex. And I think that's a good goal to shoot for. So
Yeah,
we want to have
see more
the
people
most
having
people.
sex, I got some websites for you, but go on.
Oh, hey, there you go. I'm sure we've been to the same ones, but yeah, I think that if you want to encourage, especially this procreation stuff, like let's get more people fucking, right?
Where
All
can
right.
people find you?
mean,
I am. Let's see. Geez. The road to hell on Instagram and Resident Trapper on Twitter. So find me there.
Check them out, gang. Check them out. Thank you again for being a last
Hey,
minute replacement.
anytime.
I really
I love it.
appreciate you coming on. Last but certainly not least, the one man who stuck with his commitment.
Indeed, I have
The
honor.
one man who decided not to ditch me for either reasons that could be avoided or reasons that couldn't be avoided. Zeeku, please.
So my final thoughts is I mostly agree with Lactoid. I think we've been in sync for most of the conversation. I would say the conversation of marriage would be an interesting one. I think me could have in a very friendly manner. I don't think there'd be any nipping and napping, but definitely interesting. I think overall, when it comes to dating and having relationships, I'm gonna say for this conversation, I think that monogamy is superior. I think the results of it, of having children that are less confused about hierarchy and their family, children that know who their fathers are, children who know who their mothers are. I think children knowing where they came from, both in the just objective, I come home, here I am, and even in a spiritual and just like more meaningful, symbolic way of having a lineage is superior to having these kind of wishy-washy relationships or having these different little polycubicles. I don't know. I'm with Lactoid. I don't know any data. I haven't seen any children result in this and be effective or be good in any way, shape, or form. I have seen very many times when you ask the people in these poly relationships if they're happy, usually when you start breaking it down, they're really not. So ultimately, I think monogamy is superior. I think we should be encouraging people to be monogamous and to take care of their families.
Where can
That's
people
how I
find you?
feel. You can find me at 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙𝖐 on Twitter and on YouTube. Been here for a minute. 𝕵𝖎𝑎𝑠𝑠𝐹ZZ.
Check him out, gang. He does some great stuff, especially on YouTube. Give him a follow if you can. Give him a subscribe. Gang, if you've liked this conversation, you want to support me, it's the end of the month. So this is the last chance to get in your Wick bucks, right? So send me some Twitch subs, send me some bits. Thank you for the super chats that have come through. This is how we fund this channel. This is how we keep these conversations happening. The more money I get, the better guests I can get, the better production values I can give you where my mic doesn't suck, right? We can get you better entertainment, and I can do it more often. But if I don't get support, I can't do this as often as I'd like to, and I want to give you guys content. So please support me through super chats, donations, anything like that, subs, gift bits. It's great. We're not ending this. So if you want to be in on this, if you have some big problems with what's been said, or you just want to come in and give your thoughts, how do you do that? Well, you go to the Discord. I'll put the links in chat. And once you do, you accept the rules, you jump backstage, and I'll pull you in. Cool? Cool.
I actually got to
I just want to
bounce.
say,
Peace out, Lactoid.
nice seeing you.
Yeah, I might bounce as well.
Yeah, I
Just
understand.
what
Well,
you
if
say.
everyone's bouncing, then we could just end it.
I got another panel, so I gotta.
Yeah, I understand. But go on, Pep, I think.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm gonna call polycules polycubicles from now on, going forward.
Absolutely.
That was funny.
Absolutely.
Well, Pep, are you staying?
I might. If other people stay on, yeah, sure. The rest of my day is flexible, so I can rearrange as needed.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really interested in a conversation about, like, I don't think most people in the audience even understand what non-monogamous relationships are. So I see that you're very knowledgeable about that, but I don't really trust the other people.
Why do you keep saying this, Katee? You keep saying that we don't understand. I don't know about the rest. I can't speak for anyone else, but I absolutely understand what you guys mean. I absolutely
Yeah,
do.
be
I was
a
reading
professor,
I
though.
chat.
understand it. I just don't like. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it, right? I don't
Wick,
disagree. I'm
Wick,
neutral on the
when I
subject.
say Wick, when I say don't understand, I mean when you use non-monogamy as like an interchangeable word for promiscuity, I can't engage in that conversation in good faith, you know? So like that's what I mean. And you didn't do that, so maybe that wouldn't be the case with you, but that's what happened for most of the panel, so.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're interchangeable, but they're certainly tied together. I think that's what a lot of people were saying. That's what I got out of it, anyways.
They can be, but that's kind of saying like just because a square is a rectangle, all squares are, or all rectangles are squares.
Sure, but if 98%, to pull a number out of my ass,
It is
are
completely pulled out of
one
your ass.
way, right? Like, I don't know. It's
That's what I'm disputing, though.
I
That
understand.
they're
I
all
don't
one
have
way.
the
Yeah.
numbers in front of me, so I don't know. I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah, but
think
the
to
numbers
limit-
that you're making up are directly related to your biases, which
Sure,
is
and I
what
do.
she's pointing
Yeah,
out.
this is a
Yeah.
bias I have, right? Because I
Mhm.
I know I've known some people who are in polygamous relationships in real life, right? Polyamorous, I should say. Polygamous
Yes.
is a kind of a different
I was
thing,
gonna say.
right? Kind of a different
Mhm.
thing. So excuse me, just missed
Very
me from that
different.
point, right? But I have known people in real life who are in polyamorous relationships, right? They are significantly less than the ones who are in more normal kind of monogamous relationships. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
just
we're
a
not saying that
numbers game.
we're not saying, what is the argument though? Like,
Okay,
yes,
the
there are
argument
way
is
less.
that like when we talk about these things, we can break it down into subsets. So you have the monogamous relationships, which are by and large the norm across the world, right? And then if you break that down to the alternative relationships, you have in that subset of alternative relationships what you are all saying, non-monogamous, ethical non-monogamy, right?
Wick, let me ask you a question. Do people that live in like do people that have like 3 wives, are they promiscuous?
Yes, they're polygamous.
They're polygamous. So you see polygamy as promiscuity.
No, I wouldn't use the word promiscuity, but they're not monogamous.
But you just said yes.
They're more promiscuous than somebody that has one wife.
Yes.
Okay, so if we want to use the definition of promiscuity that way, that's fine. For me, promiscuity is something
because it
outside.
said transient relationships.
Yeah,
Remember?
for me, promiscuity is something outside of
the
the deal of a relationship.
I can be promiscuous with my definitions as well. I can change my definitions. Like I can use a different word if that's it helps. If it aids in understanding, I will absolutely talk about. We can use the word. They are not.
If we need to say they have more than one sexual partner, that's fine. Yeah. They are multi-partnered. That's fine.
I like multi-partnered. Let's use multi-partnered.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, is multi-partnered acceptable for all involved?
Cool.
Yeah.
For me, promiscuous specifically means when it's outside the agreement of a relationship, whatever relationship that might be.
I understand.
Yeah.
My argument would be that, on the whole, for most people, right, and this isn't true for everyone, fair, I'll grant you that. I don't think it's true for everyone. I don't think that everyone thrives in a monogamous relationship. But for society, I think that most people do better in monogamous relationships than in other forms of relationships. There's the data that Lactoid referenced is part of it, but I think that also just on an anecdotal level, right? It's less stress, less people to deal with, less people that could potentially hurt you or potentially cause you problems, less people that could potentially cheat on you or break the contract.
Then it sounds like
heartbreak. These are all things that create more risk. So in terms of risk, monogamy is not without it, but there's significant.
What do you mean by monogamy?
Monogamy having one partner.
Okay, so you don't mean having a long-term relationship. You just mean having one partner.
I mean over a long period of time, specifically with the goal of having a lifelong monogamous relationship, yes.
Okay, so if I have one partner and we've been fucking for a month, but I'm never planning to marry them, am I monogamous?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly your definitions don't stick,
it
right?
doesn't. No, it doesn't. Marriage isn't part of monogamy. You can be monogamous outside of marriage.
Okay, I apologize. If I'm fucking one person for 1 month, but I'm never planning on being in a relationship with them, am I monogamous?
Do you have sex with other people?
No, you're not. You're not monogamous. You just only have one partner at the time, but you intend to have more.
Okay, good. So if you're going to use monogamous to mean with the monogamous intent, you're going to not use them interchangeably. If you want to use monogamous intent versus someone is monogamous, that's fine. Or having one partner versus being monogamous, we can also do that. You just need to decide which one you want to do.
Well, I'm going to read a super chat, then I've got a question for Pep, because he said something that I'm really curious about in the close that I want to get into the open. So Javier Portello Fernandez says, a rectangle and a square can never be the same thing. Duh, F. Do these people really think like this?
Wait, this is like a super common phrase that I feel like I learned in elementary school.
It's true. All squares are rectangles.
Yeah, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Yeah, it's
like this is super simple. Fuck yourself.
Again, a rectangle is a four-sided object. A square is a four-sided object that has equal palm lines. Equal
but this has nothing to do with the question I'm about to ask. So fair enough. So you mentioned that we should discourage the negative aspects of hookup culture. So that implies and begs the question that there are positive aspects to hookup culture, and I'm curious what you think is a positive aspect to hookup culture that currently.
Getting
and after you're done with that, can we? Oh, sorry.
Is masturbation bad?
Well, actually, it can be.
I mean, if overindulgence,
in excess, anything can be, but in the act
I would
itself,
say no. But
okay.
The reason I think they're not the same, right?
How?
You're involving other people, and
what if two people want to masturbate with each other's bodies?
That's a problem.
Well, I mean,
why? Why is that a problem?
To use another person like they're an object?
They're not using another person. They want to use each other. It's not using in a like negative way if somebody wants it. What?
That is pretty negative. Turning someone into a fleshlight for your pleasure just because they agree to it is not wrong.
I'm sorry, when you use your partner to be a baby machine, you're using them. I apologize.
Yeah.
This is nonsense.
Okay, if that was the intent, sure. Like if I
that
was
is
like,
your intent. You said the
it's
primary
literally
goal
those
of
people
sex
are
is
intending.
That's the primary function. The function of sex, its primary function, whether you like it or not, is to make people.
When people intend to get pregnant, they are now using each other to get pregnant. Please stop. This is disingenuous.
Okay, so some women do that. You know that, right? Like some women will go to the bar to find a random person to get impregnated.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a couple deciding they want to get pregnant and then they fuck to get pregnant. They are using each other to get pregnant.
I don't know if I would agree that that's be using each other. If they're a couple,
and I wouldn't agree that two people using each other to masturbate is
Why
using
does
each
them being
other
in a consistent relationship change the meaning of that?
Because the
of how much they're using
is,
each other.
I would probably say because the intention is pretty clear to make a family. Like this person's not an object; they're their own end.
Yeah,
like,
so their intent,
they're a baby
whether
machine.
It's their intent and whether it's using them or not relies on that as the context. But in the context of hookups, that's not a necessary part of the equation. So why is that bad?
But that is. You just said that it was.
No, I didn't.
When you said of the scenario, you said if I want to use the person to masturbate. I would honestly agree. If I wanted to use a woman as a baby machine, that would still be wrong. That'd still be objectification. That would still be a bad thing to do.
Can I say something?
Mutual masturbation is fine. It's like that's a normal sex practice.
Yeah.
I guess it's normal, relatively.
Katie, go ahead.
First of all, I don't think objectification is the issue. I think that objectification can lead to dehumanization, and I think dehumanization is the issue. And I think a big part with hookup culture is that it absolutely leads to the disposability and the dehumanization of other people. I don't think objectification and like using each other's bodies in a consensual, mature, respectful way is a problem at all. I just think when you only treat people as disposable tools, that's where it gets difficult. and that's what we want to discourage about hookup culture. But you can be in a married relationship and treat your wife like a flashlight or like a baby machine.
Absolutely, and that would be wrong.
Yeah.
I would maintain that.
Objectification. Let's focus in on that because I'm curious, right? Why you definition like I think that the reason objectification is something that we should discourage, and I think we should discourage it, is because it increases the risk of dehumanization. And sure, not in every case will this happen, but by seeing other people as objects, it tends to get people to treat them as such, right? It's in the word objectification. You are making an object.
Objectification doesn't literally mean seeing a person as only an object.
It absolutely does by definition.
Guilty of it too.
To lead to people being treated as less than human.
Objectification,
Right?
making of something or someone into an object.
Wick, yes. If you're talking about, okay, then I'll take it back. Okay. What I mean by that is there's a way to treat. So when I said that you and I should fuck, right? That was me objectifying you. That was me using, in a way, me turning you into an object of sexual desire and me objectifying you, right? And that could have either been a dehumanizing experience for you or it could have not been, right? But the point is that we make each other objects of desire and sexuality, or objects of romantic desire, or object of platonic desire all the fucking time. That's how humans interact with one another. We literally, like, when you want a girlfriend, you are looking for the object of a girlfriend in that girl.
No,
that is objectification.
That's not what
For
objectification means.
That's how I engage with objectification. If it bothers you, that's fine.
But then you're basically saying any type of desire is objectification.
Yeah, that's not how
other things are objectification too.
But you're basically saying any type of desire I have for another person is objectifying them.
I'm saying that most of the ways that humans treat each other is through objectification. Yes, we objectify each other all the time.
Like shit. Like, yes, I agree with you. We objectify each other all the time, and it's bad. That's my addendum to this would be, yes, we act like this all the time, and it's a problem, and it's leading to more problems. And as we interact more and are at a more global scale with things like social media and things like that, we have been... it has exacerbated this problem to the nth degree. I want to also talk about, if we can... go ahead, Katie.
Just an addendum. So I agree with you that we objectify each other all the time. And the reason why I think we shouldn't focus on objectification as the issue, but as dehumanization, is because I feel like the way we objectify each other constantly is so ingrained into the way that society is currently structured, that it would be easier to ask people to limit their objectification to respect the person's desires, which is a direct quote from my chat, rather than like trying to ask people to not objectify each other. I think that would be.
I think it's easier,
I think that would serve more utility. Just wanted to say it.
Sure, I think that's easier, sure, but it's less effective. It doesn't address the root of the problem, and the problem is going to continue, right? To spread and grow worse unless we nip it in the bud, take it out at the root.
I disagree, and I can give you an example.
Well, I want to get other people in here, but say that and feather in your cap for later, right? But I will just say, right, that I think that we just fundamentally disagree here. I want to get Pep in here. I want to get Victard and Zeeku. Go ahead, that order.
I mean, I think that I think we largely agree on like objectification and dehumanization of a person is a bad thing, and that we should discourage that. I think where we diverge is whether we can encourage the positive parts of hookup culture outside of that and actually enjoy those. And I kind of want to get back to the whole thing of like, what's wrong about two people using each other to masturbate, and how is it different if they're like in a committed relationship versus like just deciding on that relationship for that night?
Well, I can address this, right? So one of the issues, so when you say use each other's bodies to masturbate, I assume you mean sex. They're having sex. Right, there's just no emotional connection and things like that.
Yeah,
because sex is inherently.
Or maybe there is like an emotional connection, but only on the level required to accomplish that night's activities. Yeah, no long-term goals.
Sure. Well, one of the reasons that this is a problem is because the act of sexual intercourse comes with risks. No matter how safe you are, right? No matter how careful you're being, there are almost always risks engaged with this. And so you're engaging in a high-risk activity, right? And without the safeguards, as flimsy as those may be, of someone actually valuing you and actually being in some sort of relationship with you, then you have no recourse if this goes poorly or you have the negative outcome. So, for example, if you're using all the protection in the world, right? Condoms, birth control pills, etc., and yet, even still, a baby is now on the way, right? Now, what do you do, right? Now, abortion is an option for some, but not for everyone. Some people just won't engage in that, right?
I think that's the responsibility of those who, like, I think it's your responsibility to account for the potential consequences of any action you take. And if somebody who is unwilling to get an abortion has a hookup, does everything they can to protect it, but still ends up pregnant, then that's on them to kind of deal with. That's not a problem with hookups. That's a problem with
STDs, and there's also all the even.
But those can. There's a lot of things. So these are all
not a problem with hookups. If there's a direct result of a hookup,
then that would be saying that it's a direct problem of marriage if you accidentally get pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the purpose.
This is a problem with.
But that's
no,
stop! You're missing the point. You're missing the point. When you're married to someone, there are safeguards, flimsy as that may be, in place that will allow you to actually, make them work. It's not by any means fail safe, right? It's not idiot proof or something. Like, people leave
there are
marriages
laws for child support for hookups too. Like there are safeguards for that if you're just looking for providing for an unplanned child.
But there
are more.
It's a more safe environment if you were in a relationship, and that's why I say that the hookup,
absolutely,
that you ask for problems with using each other to masturbate, that is one of the problems, right?
So unwanted children also happen in relationships too, though. I feel like, and that can end up being worse.
I'm not done.
Okay, sorry.
Another problem is that humans tend to form emotional attachments when engaging in sexual intimacy. It just happens, right? Not always. Not everyone's built like that, but for a lot of people, when you have sex with someone, especially over a long period of time, right? Or multiple
But this
times,
is just hookups, though.
Wait, right? Yeah, with hookups. Even with hookups. If you as a chance...
change, yeah.
But over a long period of time kind of negates the hookup part.
Fair enough. If you are using each other, if you just go to a bar, the risk remains, right? It's less of a risk, but the risk remains. You think you want to hook up. Turns out, oh no, you catch feels. You catch feelings for this person. Now you want more, and now you're stuck. Now you put yourself in a very bad position, and them in a very bad position, right? Because the act of sex, and I'm going to make this hot take here, the act of sex, for most people, tends to generate intimacy and feelings. It just does. You disagree?
I can agree. No, I can agree with that. I mean, oxytocin is the thing, but I disagree that people aren't mature enough to handle those feelings and realize that in the context that they grew them, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be reciprocated.
Okay, I absolutely disagree with that. I think most people can't deal with their feelings.
Exactly. I mean, it seems to be rather clear that they can, honestly.
Then I feel like we should be encouraging people to be better about that and giving them the tools to handle that rather than discouraging it entirely.
I think that young men definitely need the tools to handle that sort of thing. I mean,
we do both.
Well, mostly young
women.
Why
would we discourage it when I think it's a good thing?
The victim of this isn't young men. The victim of this specifically is young
young people.
Yeah, young women by and large are the ones that get the short end of the stick.
I do think what we should do is encourage people in hookup culture to be more clear that that's all they want, because I feel like when women get hurt is when guys posture that they want more to get somebody into bed for hookup.
I
think that's where that comes from.
In the first place. Because ironically, what it betrays ironically is that women don't want to do hookups if guys have to pretend that they actually want more.
Yeah, I would say that by and large, guys want more hookups than girls.
Okay, that means that the women don't want to do hookups.
Not always. That means that by and large, there's a higher proportion of men who want them than women, but that doesn't mean that no women want hookups.
Okay.
That's saying the higher proportion of
smaller pool of women that want the hookups to the men.
Sure. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that's pretty known.
So then are we saying that there's a pretty big problem with hookup culture if guys have to pretend to not want hookups to have hookups with the pool of women? Wouldn't that
I
be
think
showing that women
that's
don't, by and large, want to do that if guys have to lie?
no. There's just a high. I feel like this is comparing kind of like this is kind of the issue with dating apps too. Dating apps are the way they are largely because of how men engage with them, and that's not to say that
I
like dating
completely
people is a
disagree.
bad thing. Wait,
Actually,
really?
no. There's a gigantic problem with dating apps. There's one, the
Yeah.
amount of men relative to women on the apps from start
Yeah.
to finish. In fact, there are very many men that quite literally will never get a match just because there's just not enough women. It's just functionally impossible, right?
Mhm.
That's number one. Number two, quite ironically, despite the fact that there's a whole bunch of men, women still only select a small portion of the men there. So what's going on with that? Like, how is
I
it
think-
men's fault if women are selecting a small pool of men that are available? Well,
I
actually, they're not available, actually, technically speaking.
So I think this goes back to the whole reason that male loneliness is a problem that I mentioned before anyways, that like a lot of guys are having to find out the hard way that it takes more than a paycheck and willingness to contribute to be a good partner and like attractiveness.
Okay, that sounds like complete and utter non. Destiny has this take, and it sounds like
Really?
complete nonsense to me. Absolutely, right? You say
I
it
think if
takes
you go on
more
and if
than
you
a
ask like
paycheck, right?
yes,
What is the more? What is the more that
being
young
able
men
to
are
be
lacking?
a partner in a relationship, to be an
which
equal.
Which means what?
Which
What does
means
that mean?
being a
Being
mature and responsible
emotionally-
person, able to handle their own shit, being competent, emotionally
Emotionally
capable of dealing with your own,
intelligent.
emotionally intelligent, things like that,
Mhm.
mature,
Right, but
responsible,
this
etc.
doesn't make any sense because most of
Why?
the men don't have the paycheck to even bring that to
Right,
the
so
table
that would
to
mean they
want
need to
that
be
to
even
No,
more
no, but-
emotionally mature
no, but what
to
I'm
make
saying,
up for the lack of the paycheck.
but
and
they
they're
don't
not.
even
They
They're
don't even
retreating
step to the
into
plate.
red pill and incel culture and saying it's actually women's fault, and that's
here's
not
the-
helping the problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
we're
think
talking
you
about
guys
the
are
majority of
misconstruing what I
men.
mean about the paycheck. I'm not saying every guy has to have a high paycheck to get a girl. I think a guy should be able to provide for himself. But like, if you want a partnership, I wouldn't like necessarily expect more. I think in more traditional relationships, some women may be like, okay, and that's something that you have to discuss with your partner if that's like what you guys both want for the guy to be the sole contributor.
Which is
But I think being
overwhelmingly the population of young ladies. Overwhelmingly, young women want
I-
men that make more money than them.
yes, but not be the sole
Consistently.
contributor. I think that would be a nice thing, but I don't think it's like a
Okay.
it
Well, I
prevents
have
people
data
from
on
having
this. I
relationships
have
with
data
people
on
who don't
this.
fit that.
This is level
just
one,
real
though.
quick, just to kind of get things in here. For the most part, a majority of women want a man who has equal or higher wealth than they do.
Right?
Yeah, I can agree with
Men-
that. That doesn't necessarily
men
mean
Men again, they don't mind. Like, they'll date down. Women won't date down. This is a difference. Men will absolutely date down when it comes to socioeconomics. Women, for the most part, just won't.
I feel like that's shifting because I've seen a lot of studies showing that in later years, it's the balance,
They
the
have to.
ratio of people.
They have no choice. They have no choice.
Okay.
In their later years, the amount of men that they have available has gone down. Whether they're already married or whether they don't find them attractive to begin with. That's why that's the case.
I think it's also there are plenty of women who are choosing to forego relationships entirely because that making that
Well, then they're
sacrifice isn't worth it for
deselected
them.
from the conversation. No offense, but like if I
No,
don't
I
wanna
think
like
that
it all,
they're.
okay,
I think
see
it's
you later.
important to factor them from the conversation because if there are no men appealing enough that women are just like fuck men entirely, I'm going to be single forever.
But don't you think that
I
there's
think that's a
something wrong with
problem.
their standards for them to say that there are
No.
there are no men, none, no men who are kind, no men who know things they don't know, no men who have had life experiences they didn't have, no men that
No men who are like
honorable
in
and
their
kind,
area are
none.
attracted to them, are like in a
None.
position in life that is willing to
None.
facilitate their position in life.
But
Yes,
you got-
sometimes
but
it's
you
hard
have
to find people who fit all
Okay,
those things and who
hard,
also fit
hard.
you as a person.
You say
Sometimes
that, but
sometimes it's
none?
impossible in a
Stop.
given area to find somebody who
Stop, both of you. Question for you, Pep. Do you think,
Yes.
would you personally, right?
Mhm.
Would you encourage women that are like this to lower
Yeah.
their standards in order to find?
It depends on what their standards are. If their standards
No,
are, I want
some
like
cases, yes, you would, correct?
in some cases, if their standards are like fucking what's that one subreddit that's like the
They
female
need
red pill?
6 figures, need to be over 6
what,
feet.
Yeah,
female
if like
dating
he has to have
strategies?
yeah, if they're like
Mhm.
that kind of person, then yes, because I don't think those standards are the ones that are like actually valuable. But if you're talking about like can be a part of
let's
an
ask-
equally contributing partner to a household,
What is?
then I would say
mean
do
by
not
that?
lower your
What are
standards.
What are no? Just this is to the panel as a whole.
Mhm.
Because I'm curious. What should, regardless of what they are, what should men and women value in a partner? What should be the things that they say, I want this, and I will not get away from this, right?
give you
This
all
is the
day.
standard. What should it be? Regardless of what it is, right? We can argue what it is. What, in your ideally, should be the standard that men and women look? Are they the same? Are they different? What does this look like? I'm gonna let you answer first, Zeeku. Then I want Pep, 𝕵𝖐𝖎, and my boy Coco Kiwi here.
I think between men and women, I think we could all agree. Compassion, selflessness, honor, and integrity. Very simple. I would honestly say outside of that, like, it's very trivial if you're talking about different hobbies, different TV shows, different all. You can, if you've got someone that's selfless and they want to be with you and they want to help you, if you have someone compassionate, they like being kind, they like doing nice things. You've got someone with honor, they understand monogamy, they understand the agreement. And if you got someone with integrity, that means when no one's around, they're going to do the right thing no matter what. You got all that, you're good to go. I think everyone should be going for those.
Does anyone disagree with
Wait,
that?
was
or
it
are we...
somewhat?
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was my turn or his turn or what.
pick a
was it-
turn.
I would like
right?
to. I would like to see some.
Okay,
disagreement.
I think that
Yeah.
it takes a lot more than that.
Oh, really?
Like just being
Okay.
selfless. Yeah, absolutely. Being selfless can end up with people being people pleasers, and that's the antithesis of a healthy relationship. I feel like
and
it-
so the
once it
partner
becomes
is
terminal.
To be
also
clear,
selfless.
Pep, I understand that's what we don't want. What do you value?
What I value is
what
somebody who
should
can
people
be.
value? Not, I don't want to make this personal, but
Okay.
what should
What I
people
think-
value? Yeah.
What I think people should value is somebody who is like a wholly capable and independent person who, when you come together with them, you guys can do cool things together without needing the other person. You guys are there because you both want each other and are compatible with each other, not because there's a deficit on either side.
Okay.
So then, what do you disagree with? Selflessness,
so-
compassion, honor, integrity.
I think
Would
you
you
need
meet
more
those?
than that. I think you need more than that.
So what's
Yeah,
the more than that?
I think
What
that,
I
I
just
think the
described.
biggest thing that I look for in a relationship for me is communication. I think that's a huge one. It's being able to communicate with your partner effectively to get across, like, that's like the foundation of the teamwork that kind of builds the relationship. I think that, of course, you should be a complete independent person, or as complete as you can try and be. And I don't think that journey ever stops over the course of your life. So
Okay.
you're always
Let me
working to
try
better
this.
yourself.
𝕵𝖐𝖎.
Yes.
I think everyone would agree communication is necessary, but I don't think it's sufficient. There are plenty of people I have excellent conversations with that I would never ever want to be in a relationship, right? I would communicate just fine, right? We communicate
Okay.
great, but I would never want to be in a relationship. So what I'm asking, and perhaps I have miscommunicated, right? Because I'm not sure this was clear. What is a value, right, that you think that people should be looking for? And by value, I mean this person. Well, honor, integrity, those are values, right? We agree with them or not. Honor, integrity, compassion, whatever the fourth one was, those are values. So what values should people be looking for?
I mean, I look for somebody that I can trust, communicate with, and attraction is
Trust
another.
Trust and attraction. Okay.
Trust and attraction would add on to that. I mean, being honorable. Yeah, I also think whatever value you would need to work on communication, I think that helps immensely with relationships, though.
Coco, what about you? I'll give you a chance in here.
Yeah, so I agree with the values, like the trust, communication, like everything that y'all said. I don't, but when it comes to like these are the relationships and like the way this conversation started off in the question you're asking, I don't think those are the things that stop us from getting into relationships. I think they're a lot more superficial. Is their looks, how they dress, is where they live, is how much money they make, because those are the things that we eliminate the person by before we even get it.
Superficial? If someone lives 10,000 miles from
okay, I don't mean superficial like it doesn't matter. I mean superficial like not the value part, like you were saying, like they're no following around with values. Yeah, so I think that when like women are saying there's no guys out here, I think that they're eliminating the guys off their list by checking off these other boxes before they even get to know if they're honest, trustworthy, this type of person. So I think those values should matter. But I think when it comes to like finding a partner, we are looking for looks, attractiveness, money, like that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's silly that she said that plenty of women come to this realization that's impossible to find a man to be with. That seems rather silly. I mean, whether you want it to be an exaggerated statement or not, to suggest that there's very few men that are compassionate. There's very few men that are going to be kind. There's very few men that want to be good in relationships. And what's stopping them from doing that is what I would like to ask you. So what's stopping them? You say they need to be more. They need to be an equal partner. What does
Yes.
that mean? An equal
That
partner?
means being
In what
able
regard?
to shoulder some of the mental load of the household.
Oh, they
I
can't
think
do that.
third shift, yeah, statistically, fucking no. Statistically, not at fucking all.
So statistically, you're saying young men can't shoulder the burden of household chores?
No, they can do chores if a woman tells them to. Statistically, women are
Oh my
being project
gosh.
managers.
And
Statistically,
that's what's
women are
stopping-
project managers for their entire fucking household,
Okay.
and women are tired of doing that because it ends up being married women have like something like instead of
they're married.
two people. Wait, listen. I'm going to say not all the time. I'm saying statistically, married women end up doing more household labor rather than less. When you could divide it with a person, you think there would be less, but there ends up being more. Even if they're
Wait,
two
but
single
if
people,
they're
not if
single,
they have kids.
If
Yeah.
they're single,
Exactly.
they're still the project manager.
Thank you.
Of their own
Excellent.
household, not of another person. Why would you want to be a manager of another person, of another
Because that
adult?
other
Do you think that
person,
makes
guess
you
what?
attracted to them?
But here's
Because
the
to me,
thing.
it makes me think of them like a child.
So there's nothing else, but there's nothing else of value to that person.
No, I'm not
can't
saying
have any
that. I'm
fun
just
with
saying
them.
you can have fun with them. I just don't think
Okay.
that they have what it takes to be in a long-term, successful, healthy relationship that's equally healthy for the woman to be in a relationship with them as it is for them to be in a relationship with the woman.
Okay, so you've got two problems. One, what you just cited was married people being dissatisfied, which means
Okay, there are
that
other ones as
aspect
well.
wasn't important to be married in the first place. So that can't be what's
I'm not
preventing
saying
men
people
from getting into relationships.
don't make mistakes. I think women are socialized to not realize we need to have equal partners and are
Mhm.
actually realizing that nowadays. And that's why there's like a lot of divorce, a lot of people foregoing relationships. I think people are realizing that marriage isn't the be all and end all if it comes at a cost.
And that
That's
cost is
greater
that
than
have
what
to
you gain
clean
from
up
it.
more stuff.
Is that you have to be the manager of another fucking adult who isn't competent enough to manage themselves.
Okay, but you don't think that this is a bit silly though?
Wait,
No,
the
I
one
don't
that-
at
You
all.
assume that these men, for one, aren't able to do that. But for two, you keep ignoring the fact that if these women are getting divorced, they've already been in a relationship. So
Yeah,
how
and
is
they've
it that they
decided
were
it sucked.
already in a relationship, but
Because
that's
they didn't
what's
realize
making
that
men
was the
lonely?
important facet.
Okay, but how does that
Oh,
make
yeah.
men lonely if the men that are
I
being
didn't know that
divorced
that's
are
what we were
already
talking
with
about.
them?
I didn't
Well-
know we were specifically talking about what's making men lonely. I
Well,
thought we
we
were
have
talking about
to.
what's important in relationships. Okay, I mean that's two
Yeah, but
different
we
things.
have to. But we're
Yeah.
they're all connected to each other though, right?
I do
'Cause-
think it does partially contribute to men being lonely in that I think more women are realizing this, but I don't think every single woman already knows this. And I think plenty of people I think women overall are socialized to be like, yes, I'm the homemaker. I'm gonna like
Okay.
do all the house stuff.
So
But
let's say
in
we
the
accept
modern day
that.
demands on women nowadays, it's kind of impossible to expect them to do all of that, but also
Okay.
be an equal contributing partner in terms of like having a job and doing all the same things a guy would
Mm-hmm.
do, but plus this on top of it.
Okay, so let's say I accept all of that.
Sure.
Okay. How would they know that these young men can't do that if they're not engaging with them from start to finish?
I'm saying they what do you
So I'm on
Sorry.
Tinder. Swipe,
Yeah.
swipe, swipe, swipe. I don't know
So
if
I
this dude
should
can be an equal
say
partner.
I don't think
So
Tinder is a great dating method for either.
okay, I'm
gender.
walking down
So-
the street. I'm on my
yeah.
way to Walmart, right? My
Mhm.
local Walmart. Some
Yeah.
dude comes up to me. He says, "Yo, I would be so upset with myself if I didn't come over and try to talk to you. I think you're gorgeous. You know, what's your name? I'm Sally. Hey, I'm Bill." They talk to each other. The
Mhm.
woman looks at Bill and she's
Mhm.
like, I don't really want to be with Bill. Did she know that Bill couldn't be an equal partner when she
So
said
you're
that?
describing a scenario based just on looks and like an initial conversation. So that's all she's
Okay.
going to be basing it off of.
Okay.
Unless he goes over. I mean, that's discounting all the things that you guys were saying that women use
Wait,
to
but
eliminate
if a
men
woman's
anyways.
saying that
Unless
she
he
can't-
says, wait, let me finish talking. Unless he says like, hey, I have like a 6-figure income and a Maserati. There's no way that those would be distinguishing and eliminating factors either in that scenario. You usually have to get to know somebody. That's part of dating.
Okay. So how would she know that he's not going to be an equal partner?
She wouldn't. You would need to date somebody for a little bit and determine that.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm going to
and-
short circuit that. I think you guys are missing each other. I think what he is trying to ask and what he's trying
Yeah.
to get at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zeeku, but he is saying that the problem with a lot of men is they can't get past go. They
Thank you.
can't get past
Yeah,
go
okay.
to demonstrate that they have any other of these qualities that may or may not desirable. Women simply aren't picking them to even have a perspective. Will he or won't he fulfill my desires with?
Exactly.
That is, I think.
That's what I'm trying to
So
get
I
you to
don't think that's
understand.
necessarily related to the things I'm saying. Then if it's just the initial interactions that men can't even get, I feel like that's partially because Tinder I think is a nightmare for men, and I don't think it's particularly great for women either. I think online dating in general is slightly a mess, and it's I think
but
that there are
that-
better ways to. Yeah.
But that is what you're saying. If you're saying these women have decided that they can't, that there's no men out there, then unless they've interacted and gone on at least 1 or 2 dates with all these men, then they can't make that
So you have
statement
to date
that there are
every
no men out
person
there.
before you decide that you're tired of doing that.
Yeah, you gotta date
Oh.
a couple of people.
Oh my
don't you?
God, that's
Wait,
some
wait,
people.
wait,
Some
say-
people don't
wait,
have time
say-
for that.
say
Why would
that-
they
say
want to
that
do
you're-
that when they could just enjoy themselves by themselves? If they enjoy
Because
their
the
life in their own
okay.
company without the addition of a man, then why go through the trials and
But
tribulations
those are
of
two
being in a
different
relationship with
statements.
potentially shitty people?
The benefit of
No,
having
I
a
don't think
man
so.
far
Yeah.
outweighs just being a single spinster.
No.
Having a
No.
partner-
Okay.
See, this is the problem.
Abso-fucking-lutely
This is
not.
That's
the problem
No.
is. The problem is
No.
pretty clear.
No.
You have no faith and no trust in men. That's
No,
pretty
that's
clear.
the,
because
some
you
of my,
can't even
listen.
imagine
Literally, my
an
best friend
okay
who
scenario.
would be like my maid of honor is a dude.
Okay,
Wait,
and you
but-
would,
wait,
but,
but-
you, but he's not your fiance. Why is that?
No, he's not, because he already
Why
has
is
a
he not your
girlfriend.
fiance? Okay,
Like
all
he
right,
has
well,
somebody he
he's
loves.
discounted.
I was with somebody else who we love.
Mhm.
We've established a long-term perfect friendship.
Mhm.
Anything beyond that is not in the cards now.
Wait, but there's
Well,
a difference
well,
between saying I don't
Mhm.
want to go through the trouble of finding and dating and getting to know someone,
Yeah.
and I just want to be by myself. There's a difference between saying that and
No,
me saying
I think that-
there are no
sorry.
there are no
Different, yeah.
there are no women out there who could
Exactly.
fit me to be
I
in a
can see what you're
relationship with.
I can see what you're saying, but I think I should have maybe baked that into my statement more, that women have decided it's not worth the trouble to try and go through relationships to try and find a good one, and that it's just more a better use of their time to be single and just enjoy the things that they love about their life.
I'm sorry, but that's
I don't think it is.
nonsense. Again,
Go
the
on a lot of like
so-
the go on a
let's
lot of
use your
different
friend for an
not
example. You
Yeah,
don't
sure.
think that his fiance's life is better because he's there?
I
You
think he's a
she'd be
good guy, so
better?
I think her life is better with him in it.
And
But I
so- and
think
you
that's
he's
not
one-
always the
he's one of-
case.
He's only well, of course, it's not always the case. Of course, you're
Okay,
gonna have
yeah.
bad relationships.
Well, that's what I'm
But
saying.
we're talking
Okay,
about
why
just
would women
general
choose to be
good.
in bad relationships when they could just forego that
Exactly.
risk?
Nobody would want them to be in bad relationships. What I'm saying is
So-
normal, average dude.
He's saying the
all
good
right guy.
relationships.
I'm saying he's
Okay.
just he's Joe
Oh,
Schmo.
if she finds like an equal partner, then I think that would be great for them. But you can't force women to like roll the dice on that if they've decided
How's
they've
that
done
rolling
that their
the
whole
dice?
lives and they don't want to. Because you literally just said there are bad relationships. They're not always going to be winners.
Question.
That is
Okay.
essentially
Question
rolling the
for you,
dice.
Kat.
That's like
where we get to
100%.
the
Question. Then
Sorry.
we're probably gonna wind this down, gang. If you want this content to keep going, you got to give me money. Donate, right? Donate. Give me bits, subs. Throw some super chats my way, and we'll keep this going. Otherwise, I'll shut it down. But question for you first, Pep.
Yeah.
Do you think that most women want equal relationships in their heart of hearts?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Disagree.
Why do you disagree, Coco?
I mean, the whole, I want a guy who's taller, one guy who makes more money than me. I want a guy who's most of the time older than me. They don't really want to be an equal partner. They typically want a man who is more successful or more well.
I think you're just using one metric, and I'm using a bunch of different ones. Not that I would say I agree with you guys that most women want men who are like fiscally more well off. But I think in all the other categories, I think women are looking for equals, people who are like at or the same level. God, or definitely it should be of higher. They should be looking for mentally healthy people who can handle their own mental health and not rely on another person for that. They're looking for people who can maintain a household and maintain like the entropy that they cause in a space, that they can also handle that without being told or managed. I think there's a lot of things that women want that are not like fiscally related that they want equals for.
$5,
That's primarily what I mean.
$5 from the trip to say women aren't closing the gap with approaching more than they used to, and men are approaching less.
I agree
blame
with that.
the
Yeah.
internet / social media will work.
I do think we're at
to piggyback off that, and I'm tossing it to you, Pep, so don't worry. Right? To piggyback off that, right? Isn't this an indicator that women don't want equality in relationships?
Why would that be an indicator that?
For the most part, aren't willing to equally approach. So off the jump.
Oh, okay. So I think that's
equal,
no. I think
right?
this is kind of a red herring. I think this is
Why?
like taking a societal expectation and extrapolating that to the needs of a whole relationship. And I think that's I think that's unfair to do. I think that's a little bit silly to do.
indicative that
No,
they're
I
okay
disagree.
with
No.
inequality
I
if
think
it's
that
societally
no.
normal.
I think that we're
Because
at
it
what I
is
was
an
going to say.
inequality. Can
No,
we
no.
start
I
with
can
that?
agree. I can agree with that. But people don't necessarily, just because that's like the societal expectation of the norm, I think if women were socialized differently, they wouldn't want that and would still want equality in the rest of the relationship. I think that's incidental. I don't think that's indicative of a woman's preferences. But I do agree that we should be socializing women to approach men more. I think we're at a weird point historically where we haven't socialized women to kind of like be closer to meet in the middle, essentially, where we.
I got a question. Can I hit the buzzer?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't a woman want to approach men more if they have a much higher chance of success from start to finish? If most men are appreciative of women talking to them to begin with, why are women afraid to engage?
So I think there's multiple reasons for this. I think there's like pragmatic reasons of So in a scenario where you're approaching somebody on the street and you know nothing about them, the chances of that going well is sometimes not great. I think No. If you're a woman, you can end up with a lot of creepy encounters. Even by not approaching people, I've ended up with creep. Yes, you can't choose. This is the thing. This is what I was saying before. You can't determine all these characteristics just from looking at somebody.
Let me cut this off at the head because like you're missing each other again. Well, so we're not talking about just encounters where they just come out at the bar or in the street. We're talking about in a relationship where they've been platonically working together for sometimes months, maybe even years. Women,
okay, so that's why I defined that one scenario.
Women,
and then I was going to move on to this one.
Do not make the first move.
I completely agree. Yeah, right? I completely agree. I like I said, I think so the question was,
don't you think this is indicative, right?
I disagree with them.
Why do you not think it's indicative of them not actually wanting a larger, unequal relationship? Because
this is like an incidental societal expectation. It's what you see in romance novels all the time. You want to be swept off your feet. Women are still socialized for that.
But whether or not where it comes from, this is still their preferences nowadays in our society right now.
I'm saying I agree that it's a problem that women don't approach men more. I'm on the same page with you guys on that.
What I'm extrapolating from that, and you can say I'm doing it unfairly, but I think that there is some there that this is indicative that women, where they say they want an equal relationship, what they instead actually behave and how they actually behave, because actions speak louder than words, kids, right? Okay. How they're actually behaving is they're not selecting for equal partners. They're not selecting for equal relationships. These are not what they're actually choosing or the behaviors that they're engaging in. The behaviors that they tend to be engaging in are going for people who are very not equal, let's say, right? For lack of a better term. And again, I think that this singular behavior is indicative of the larger behavior as a whole. Women say that they want all sorts of things, but when you get down to brass tacks, how they behave is entirely different in a lot of ways.
Do you know how this is so entirely unrelated? Because most of the women who... So if this is indicating that women want an unequal relationship, and you're saying that they want a man who is more...
don't necessarily want an equal relationship.
Yes. So if they're women who don't ask men out and they rely on being asked by men, that they don't want an equal relationship and they want a man who say is more stronger, more in charge, then why are those men not equals in those relationships? Why do those men, according to statistics, end up not pulling their weight household wise?
What do you mean? Because they're not equal, right? You said it in the
that's what I'm saying.
Equal. They don't want to.
Yeah, but you're saying they're equal in a different... You're saying they're unequal in a different direction. You're saying
don't get me stop. Don't get me twisted. I'm not saying that men are better. They don't want equal either. Men don't want.
I think the implication with that is that the men that they're choosing men who would take charge more. I think that's kind of baked into what you're saying.
That, as well as they don't want to have to put in the same amount of effort for a relationship. Yes.
Yeah. So then why would that have a correlation to them being in relationships where they have to be household managers?
It has a correlation to how much effort they're willing to put into a relationship.
So they're willing to put in more.
They're willing to put in less, actually.
No, by being household managers in a relationship, no. If you look at studies on the time, if you look at studies, no, I'm looking at all the mental load as well.
End all and be all here.
No, I'm not, but I'm saying that that's a huge statistic. Yeah, no, I'm talking about emotional labor too. But if you look at the statistics of like how much work women put in per week, it's much higher. And some of that is mental and emotional labor. Some of it is direct household labor. But I'm saying that like
mental and emotional labor though. Is that even quantifiable?
Yeah, I mean the studies showed it. So yeah, I guess so. I don't know right off the top of my head, but I would assume it would be reporting Everything relationship-wise is self-reported.
But here's the problem. How often do these women shovel snow? Like, how often do these women take out the garbage? How often do these women take care of the dogs?
The infrequent activities definitely overwhelm all the other activities. So, like, the 2 hours of hard work outweighs all the rest of the work that women do.
No, but
and they're choosing this. That's what you're implying, is that they've chosen this scenario rather than it being decided together. And I don't think. I think that this is all just socializing what people are used to, and people are finding out that they're not this happy with it.
And you can argue that this is a socialization. I would agree with you. Men, by and large, right, are more supportive of their women coming to them with their emotional problems than vice versa. Women, in many cases, when a man comes to them having emotional problems, are seen as weak, lesser, and they're discouraged from doing so by their spouse, right? This is just a thing. It's not everyone, but this, by and large, seems to be the case. Men are expected. I don't think
it's...
I'm sure every young man can say they've experienced this.
Women,
I'm sure they can, but I'm sure that
their shit in a different way than women.
I do think that's negative. I do think that's a problem, but I don't think that trend is continuing. I think that's being pushed back against socially, and I think many more women are.
I agree with you.
I would say it's changing a lot.
In your direction here, but it's not near. It's not near like to a point where we could say that this problem is by any means solved or any means even equal.
So even if men are not open with their problems with their women, that doesn't mean it doesn't come out in other ways. Like, women have to deal with the repercussions of men drinking more. Women have to deal with the repercussions of men shoveling their emotions inside and not actually addressing them.
But the man is either way. You can't say that the man's in pain, so that hurts the woman. That both people are hurting.
No,
both people are hurting.
This is it's a problem for both people. But so is the project manager thing. That's a problem for men too, right? This is a problem for both people. But what I'm trying to combat and what I have and taking issue with is that women, by and large, do more in a relationship. Through the narrow lens of project manager, household chores, I'll grant you that. That's true. But when it comes to emotional labor, when it comes to a myriad of other factors, I don't think it's as clear-cut as you would say.
Can you show me statistics on that?
I don't have them pulled up, but yeah.
I don't even know if you could.
I think I can show you statistics pointing to the inverse.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree on the household labor, it would be like what they categorize that as.
I'm going to give it to you 120%. I think she should have that. I think that if anything, this really shows how frivolous a lot of relationships are. If you're telling me that the reason why young ladies don't want to be with young men is because they have to clean up the house more often, then what is that really saying about how they feel about young men?
No, it's not that I'm just saying. That's really diminishing what I'm saying. That's really foolish. No, that's literally what I posited in the beginning, is that you want somebody who can also take care of their own shit, so that when you come together, each person can take care of the own entropy.
Takes out the garbage, cuts the grass, takes care of the dogs, kills any snakes that get inside the house. I mean, are young ladies doing that?
Yeah,
there's aspects to the house that men are doing. Women aren't doing.
Also, I feel like women do that in plenty of relationships. What are you talking about?
Okay, so when there's little frogs in the house, right? I'm the man. I'm the one that gets the little frogs out. Women aren't doing that. If there's a snake in the house, I'm the one that has to kill it. If there's garbage, I have to take the trash out. But you get the point. I'm the protector.
I think that there are plenty of relationships.
The heavier stuff,
and I think that's understandable for a certain stereotype of a relationship. That does happen. I can agree that does happen. But I don't think being like, no woman ever does these things. That's
no one's saying that. Kamikaze, thank you for the sub. It's not a cuck panel. Cuck panel's next week, gang. But no, I think that you're both right. There are relationships where that are more equal than others, but in general, right? And this is I don't think this is a good thing. I think it's a problem, actually. In general, right, household chores are divvied up on kind of a patriarchal kind of grounds, where men are expected to do the heavy labor and kill and protect and things like that, and women are expected to do the cooking, the cleaning, etc. I think this is bad, but I think that this is these general society expectations, and because it is the general society expectations, it's what generally people want, right? Regardless of what
I would also posit that that's changing and shifting as the expectations of women have shifted. So women are having to contribute to these things more. It's only in traditional relationships that this is like this divided.
But
It
this
has
is the
nothing to do with
problem.
why men
That
are
has
lonely.
nothing to, exactly. That would have nothing
Again,
to
I
do with
take
why
issue with
young men
only.
are
I think
lonely.
even in non-traditional
So-
relationships, this is the case where the men or the more masculine presenting generally do.
I
the
think a
heavier
lot of the
lifting
time,
and things like that.
but I don't think it's as cleanly divided in like non-traditionally oriented, like
because there's just more
when I say
division, so yes,
non-traditional
it's less
relationship, that
clean.
sounds like I'm describing like not poly, but I just mean people who aren't aiming for like a hyper traditional like 50s style relationship is what I mean by that. In terms of how this impacts men's loneliness, yeah, I don't necessarily think that this is like going to be an impact seen in terms of like picking up women. I don't think that's related to that. I think in terms of well, maybe in like a very broad way it might, because it might just overall reduce women's like desire to be like to roll the dice, like I was saying. I think with older women this is more relevant than with younger women. So I think for young men's loneliness this doesn't apply as much. I think in some cases it might still, but not as much. I don't know. I think that part of, like I said before, part of the issue with women asking first and men not being able to get past that initial barrier of like even getting a date with somebody. I think like 𝕾𝖎, you brought up people who've been platonic friends for a while. That's going to be so fucking nebulous and nuanced down to the scenario. I feel like it's hard for me to put a big rule on that. I do think overall that women are still socialized not to like we've already agreed on, women are socialized not to be the ones who ask. But also like maybe those platonic relationships, women don't they just want them to be friendships. Maybe they're not willing to risk the fallout of engaging with someone like that. They've had hookups before. They've had friends with benefits that have ended up.
So let me ask.
Yeah.
Well,
what
then
makes
we're
a young
gonna close
lady?
it out, but go ahead.
What makes a young lady attracted to a man to even pursue anything from start to finish?
Do you mean like initially, like at first glance, it's going to be looks, but then at first conversation, it's probably going to be personality and like
what?
compatibility.
Like you glossed over the looks,
are they
that's not important, but
no, I think looks are really important, but I think that's like that's not something that I have a prescription on changing. I feel like maybe, I mean, the prescriptions that I would have for it are ones that are super obvious, like just like some men are going to be fucked visually just the same way some women are fucked visually, but the general rules can apply. What?
But the women who are fucked visually don't have the same problem the young men have.
I think in some cases they do, depending on stuff, but women can use makeup. Men can use beards, which does help, but not to the same degree that makeup can.
Not if they don't have the genetics, they can't use it.
No, there's like a whole separate minoxidil beards. So like I think that there are options.
Literally putting a beard on your face, like.
Yeah, you're like putting a hair growth serum on your face for men who have patchy beards and who can't grow beards. Some people are still excluded from that as well. I do think there are options that men can take to improve their appearance if they're dealt a poor hand. And some of them require privilege, like plastic surgery. That requires a lot of privilege. But women would have to have privilege to engage in that too. I do think makeup... What?
No, they don't. One, they don't need the plastic surgery to begin with. Like the bar.
But if they do, no, if they're like deformed,
being an attractive man.
Well, that's because men have.
We're not talking about deformation.
I'm not talking about deformed people.
I am talking about deformed. No, I'm saying that when I was bringing up people who require these things, I'm bringing up people who are fucked in the looks category. That's specifically why I was bringing those up.
We're talking about every man and every woman. Again, we're missing each other. So again, what Zeeku and Coco are referring to is the phenomenon. Right, and I'm not actually sure how real this is. So don't quote me on this, but this is something I hear a lot. Is that men have to be better looking than a woman to stand out. So the average woman gets more play than the average man, just by and large, right? So the standard for men 6 or better, women 4 or better. Just to arbitrarily say, I don't know if this is true.
Yeah, I think that I would. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. That's why I'm saying women have like things that they can do to fix their appearance too. Like it's easier to be a 4, to go from a 4 to a 6 as a woman.
You don't have to. That's the thing. You don't have to go from a 4 to a 6 as a woman. It's probably half the problem by itself.
To get a good relationship with somebody you want. I don't know, maybe.
See, that's the problem. I think
with someone you want is the key word there.
Exactly, right. And the problem that I'm having is the things that are discounting young men aren't the actual things that I said. Honor, virtue, compassion. We're talking about looks. You're talking about being an equal partner, cleaning up the house as the same.
You wouldn't even get matter at all. Like obviously, looks have to have some kind of matter, right?
That's what I'm saying. They matter too much, is what I'm saying. I'm saying so many young
I
men
can
are
agree with that. Yeah.
discounted because they
No, I
matter
can
too much.
completely agree with that.
And we're not
Yeah.
even getting to actually being able to express how we are, as in like
Yeah.
cleaning up the house or something. I find it, I'm gonna be honest with you, silly to say that young women are tired of young men because they're not equal participants when they're not even given the opportunity from
Like
start
I
to
said,
finish.
I said specifically young women, this would be less of a problem, but I do think maybe it is contributing a little just because of the overall like social discussion we're having around these things at this time. It does filter down to young women and they do hear this. So that may have a small influence, but I think the influence is much smaller for younger women than it is for older women.
Okay, kings and queens and emperors, we have reached the end. We're circling the drain. We have the benefit to this is I have more topics for the future that we can narrow in on. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for coming last minute. I appreciate everyone who hopped on, everyone who hopped in. Gang, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go on Katie's show and they're going to try to, it's the WhickTV conversion therapy. They're going to try to convert me to be much more left than I am. We'll see how that goes. Tune in 6 p.m. Eastern, and it should be fun. We'll find out. But that's what we got going on. Wednesday, we're going to talk about the state of Ukraine. Got a wonderful cast for that. Thursday, I'm going to be hosting a one debate between Tom Foolery and Allison on trans issues. And Friday, we're going to talk about institutions. See you guys then. We're reading out. Say hi to Lactoid for us.
Bye.
Remember to spam your favorite hate, your favorite insult to Lactoid. Go ahead. Bye.